just wait for YouTube to catch up. Come on. Come on.
Hi, Blue.
Oh, people tend to sort of drift along, don't they?
Yeah. That's not a good sign.
How does that work? Where'd they all go? Just it, just dropped down to 5. It's like, hang on a minute. What were you waiting for? Oh dear. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's I'd go along with that. Yeah. They're coming back again.
Drifting back in.
I guess I could have turned my microphone on for YouTube and it might have worked better. Hello, everybody. I'm here just talking away to farmers and Rob Barton, and you guys weren't hearing me.
Oh.
Oops.
I think I got it fixed now. Maybe. So what we got out there? We got OALM, Beth Moulton. I don't believe we've seen you before. Welcome. You're not blue. You can't be out there and not be blue. Okay, got that fixed. There's Clive. Mark 10 Hads. Judy Bassett. Thank you so much, Judy. Sean Hawkins, no spam. Our friend Repo Sandman. And who am I missing? Dog Walker. Doug, what is that? Bootenboss? Or how do you pronounce? I don't know how to pronounce it.
No, I'm not sure. No. Oh,
there's Tusk.
Tusk, a troublemaker.
Yep. Oh, now we're collecting the troublemakers too.
Now they're turning up. Here we go.
Yeah, we'll have a proper show now. Hello, Charlie. Beth says, I don't catch your live streams very often. Been in the background.
Ah.
That's okay.
Lurking is allowed.
Absolutely. We're perfectly happy to have people lurk. Not a problem. Anybody that wants to join, stick a link out there, farmers.
Yeah, let me just get a link up.
I got to make a bot to do that one of these days.
And there we go. There's a link to Blue's Discord server.
Oh, Doug says it's Biden Boss. Okay. Got you, Doug. You shall be Doug forevermore, and I won't have to worry about it. How's that?
That's what we like to keep easy.
There's monochromatic light source. Stephen Mudd up there, I see. I see him. I think I mentioned dog walker already.
Yeah.
We are. Peter, how are you today, sir? Or good day, mates.
Oh, we got one of the Oz squad in. Ripper.
Yeah, I think at some point today we're going to try and tackle that extremely confusing topic of what the hell horizontal is. Seems that there is a lot of confusion about that. I don't know why.
Well, in certain quarters, shall we say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all they've got is confusion. The more confusion they can make, the more BS they can sort of push.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, flat Earth relies on confusion. Confusing the simple.
Yeah, the way the way they seem to go with it is to just continuously pretend that they don't understand when they've had it explained to them 50 times. Why they do that, I don't know. Hey, Doofus. What's up, man? Hop in the Discord if you want to.
I think when you've had to explain the same thing to the same person 50 odd times, you're wasting your breath.
Yeah, probably. Probably. But it's a never-ending pattern. And it just repeats. I think the picture I've got up on YouTube right now, you guys, I can't show that over, but you guys can see it.
I've moved my Discord window aside. I can see YouTube. So yeah, we've got down drop and a level surface. And look, it curves.
Yeah. Doofus says he's about to be driving all day. Alrighty.
Best of luck.
Take it slow. Be careful. But yeah, I don't know what the confusion is. We live on a sphere. Down is always toward the center.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that graphic I'm showing. That's how it works. And that little red line there underneath the enormous boat is what we would say is horizontal. But it's, by definition, or at least our definition, horizontal is perpendicular to gravity. And that means no matter what point you put that at, if the boat moves to that position, horizontal moves. It has to. Or if the boat moves to that position, horizontal has to move because the direction of gravity changed. How simple can this be?
Yeah, and in reality, there's only two places that the two horizontals are planar, and that's on the opposite side of the planet. There's two parallel planes, one on each side of the geometric side of the planet.
That's right.
And there's nowhere else that they're planar.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't draw that graphic, but that's exactly correct.
Yeah, and the way you've got it moving, those two planes would rotate with each other.
Yep. They do. Yeah, in that position, I've gone back to the original now. It would be parallel if the boat was absolutely upside down, hanging off the bottom of the screen.
Nowhere else.
Yeah, nowhere else. That would be the only 2 points. They have the hardest damn time with that. I picked up some stuff last night over on the Try Thinking, and they really should do that one of these days, by the way.
Yep. The irony.
Yeah, ironically.
The irony is thick.
Yeah. Go on. Why don't you give it a go? Go on.
Yeah. Give it a whirl. You never know. It might work. It might not, but, at least give it a shot. But anyway, I don't know who they were talking to. Maybe we'll pick up on that, but I cut out a little bit of that stream, and I thought we might play some of that just for a laugh, just to see how, just to remind ourselves how screwed up the Try-Thinking crowd can get this very simple concept that we've just shown in my graphics. So let's see what I need to do. I got to figure this out now. What I'd really like to do is be looking at this live on Discord. Well, this may not work as well as I thought it was going to. I didn't think about this. I can play it for YouTube very easily, but that's not going to be including you guys in it.
No.
Well,
So,
we can watch it on YouTube.
yeah, it kind of messes us up, though, because we want to... I know what I can do. Hang on. I can fix this.
He has the technology.
You betcha. I just need...
Must be high up.
If I move my Discord window, whoops, which I just made completely disappear, that's not good. There it is. I just got to shift a few things around here on my screen. Just take a second.
Oh yes, always have to have a bit of a sort out and a shafty round.
Okay. By doing that, now what I can do is this. And I can share my screen like that.
Let's give that a go. Oh god, he's got his bloody whiteboard out again, has he?
Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
It's okay, we got that much of it going.
We can see it.
And let's see if you guys can hear it.
And all perpendiculars to a plane are parallel. You can then take a perpendicular from those.
How about that?
Yes. I could hear him. It's a little quiet, but all perpendiculars are parallel.
Yeah. How about out on YouTube? How did that sound? Any echoes or anything? Just make sure we got this thing all sorted before we go any further.
Yeah. Apparently my audio is low.
It does sound a little bit low.
Well, I had to turn things down because I was getting a lot of. I think my mic was picking up my headset. I was getting. I was lighting up when I wasn't saying anything because I think my mic was picking up other people. So I had to turn things down a bit yesterday.
I've turned your audio back up a little bit, Farmers.
Oh, good. Hopefully.
That should help it.
Right, what have we... Right, no video on YouTube.
Oops. Yeah, that's what I'm missing. I know how to fix that too. I need to turn that off. Let's see if that's what I wanted. Probably not. We'll get it right here in a minute. There we go. Now they'll have the video out there. That will get everything working, I believe.
Yes.
So, yep. All right. Well, let's listen to a little bit of Try Thinking's foolishness last night.
Perpendicular parallels to prove that all of the horizontals that are perpendicular to the perpendicular will be parallel. Always.
What the hell did he just say?
All parallels that are perpendicular to the perpendicular.
Or parallel. What?
What?
What the hell? Wait a minute. And now I'm going to do a Bev. We're going to go back and listen to that again.
Yeah.
Plane, a horizontal being a straight line or plane, and all perpendiculars to a plane are parallel. You can then take a perpendicular from those perpendicular parallels to prove that all of the horizontals that are perpendicular to the perpendicular will be parallel. Always.
That's what he said.
Yeah, hearing it the second time didn't really help.
No, not a bit. We'll continue. Maybe he'll reveal the mystery behind that crazy statement in a minute.
They won't all be horizontal or vertical or whatever.
Yeah. On the assumption that a horizontal is a straight line or plane. You can refer that straight line to a plane.
Well, I disagree with that. I think
We are just talking about horizontal and vertical here, right?
horizontal is a local, I'm still not quite clear about what the best term is, but local orientation.
We are talking about horizontal here, right? Not level. I just point that out.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about horizontal.
You mean they're different then?
I don't want you to be confusing level and horizontal when we're talking here. We are purely talking about horizontal being perpendicular to vertical.
You know, you might actually confuse that if you tried hard enough to say that Bev just admitted that horizontal and level aren't the same.
That's exactly what he sounded like. Yeah, he said, no, we're only talking about horizontal here, not level.
Yeah. Have you changed your mind, Bev?
His first principle of his entire belief is that, I'm not going to do the voice, level is horizontal. And he's just saying, no, we're just talking about horizontal, not level. Well, I thought in his mind the two were equal. They were synonymous with each other.
That's what I thought. Maybe the old boy's coming around. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nah, no such luck.
Yes, I agree with that, and at every point, and you can measure it at any point, but I disagree that it can be extended. it can be, for any particular viewpoint, it can be
Yeah, I can't
viewed
hear you.
as being.
It's a very quiet feed.
Is it really?
Yeah, I can barely hear t'other guy because normally Bev is way louder than everybody else, and he's very quiet. And the other chap, I can't really make out what he's saying.
Huh. I don't know what to do about that either. How about out on YouTube? Can you guys hear that video? Or
As long as YouTube can hear it. But so I that other guy, and I can't remember his name from last night. I've not heard him before. I can barely hear him.
yeah, we'll see if the folks out there are hearing it. It looks like it's coming across on the desktop audio just fine.
Yeah, it's okay on YouTube.
Yeah.
Plenty loud enough on YouTube.
Oh.
I don't know how to get it to. I don't know if there's anything else I can do to improve that for you guys in here. Let me just see. Not really sure.
Now, somebody's understood why I chose the moniker of Farmer's Boy. Because back in the day, Facebook wasn't a thing, and there was a whole load of us talking on the internet, and I was always known as FB. And Mark has just said FB is quiet, Blue is good and loud. Well, Blue's always good and loud because.
Farmers, why are you so quiet?
I barely hear you.
Hello,
You're
Rumpus.
incredibly quiet. Hello, Blue.
How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. Hello, and everybody else. What are you doing today? Sorry, I've missed. I'm sorry to ask. I know it's a very tedious bit to ask me. What are you doing today?
Oh, looking at some crap that Bev put out last night.
Oh, right, you're going to that one. The one we talking about with Hex, I think, wasn't it, or something? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was right. I've just turned my mic up. See if that makes it. Hex, that was it. I hadn't heard him before, and as I was saying to Blue before we went live, I was listening to Hex and going, no, don't say that.
Yeah, he's sort of okay. He's not. He's sort of getting there, but he's not. I sent him a DM just a moment ago to say, because I was watching a bit of this as well. Actually, happened at the same time. He almost gets it right, but he doesn't quite. And he allows. I mean, I don't obviously which section you're reviewing here, but there's a bit later on where he talks about where Bev says that the Newlyn tide gauge is a point, and therefore the level cannot be a surface, or the mean can't be that's right. He thinks that the mean sea level, or a level can't be a globe because the mean sea level is defined at a point. Not realizing that, of course, the Newlyn tide gauge in Cornwall, yes, it defines a point, but that's an elevation above the sphere, or a distance, effectively a radius. And if you expand all that radius out, all the points that are at the same distance, it forms a surface. So I don't know if that's a. So anyway, I was
No, don't know how far. Ah, good. I cranked my mic up. That seems to have.
Yeah, you're much better now.
Yeah, I think
People
so.
can hear me now, and unfortunately, that means you can now hear me when I go level is horizontal.
Stop that.
Sorry.
Yeah, shout out to Digital Demonic Davros for $5 Australian. Right, I'm very mad at this plonk. He has levels and straight edges, yet has not used a ruler for any lines on that damn whiteboard.
Good point. It's all freehand.
Yeah, I'll give that one to you, Digital Davros. That's absolutely correct. All right, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this. Maybe what I've done will have helped you guys some too. Let's see.
Hang on,
My
man.
question is, has he already had any needles?
Said no, mate.
Can I get?
That's all it is. We forgot to take it.
All that and it's completely frozen still. Okay, so I will give him some biscuits then.
Rob.
That's all right. He's muted.
Yeah. Okay.
Being extended in all directions, but in that case it will change when you move. Physically, Vertical is or isn't vertical. It's
Can we hear this on? It's
vertical
not coming
is-
through on YouTube.
Oh, there you go.
Rumble.
Look, is that
Discord.
is that the thing that you thought was me?
No, so
That
it's so quiet I can
ridiculous
barely
thing
hear
that
the other guy
Wally's
talk.
done.
I can't hear anything on Discord.
Oh goodness. Well, I don't know what to do about it.
How do you normally do this? I was actually going to ask you, Blue. How do you normally do this? How do you get OBS to feed stuff into Discord and to send it out to YouTube?
Well, I've got Discord looking at the my second screen, which is what this is playing on. But then I'm streaming that screen back to Discord. So I don't know why you guys aren't getting the volume.
We're not getting any sound at all. I'm not getting any sound at all.
Oh goodness. All right, let me.
Right, so I just knew how you did this because I was going to do something similar, and I was wondering I had another way to approach. I just wondered how. So you've got OBS grabbing your Discord screen, and you're playing the YouTube video in your Discord in your Discord.
Yeah.
But if you were playing it in Discord, then we would be getting that, wouldn't we?
Well, I am playing it. You guys are watching it in Discord, right?
Indeed, yes, quite.
Yeah, Bev's quiet, and usually Bev is way too loud. He's got it set up so he's always the loudest of anyone in his Discord, I think. But he's quiet, and Matey Boy, he's barely a whisper.
Yeah, I can't see anything wrong with these settings either. I really can't, and I don't know how to improve it.
So you're just playing a video in Discord, and then you're sending it to OBS by just grab. Is that correct? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I got out. Let me try getting back into it one time.
Problem is, out in YouTube world, they can hear it
You're
absolutely.
very quiet again, Farmers. I can really hear you. You're really, really quiet. In fact,
What about now?
slightly louder, but you were fine about 2 minutes ago, and now you've gone super quiet again.
good grief.
Is it just me, George? Can you hear Farmers at all? Oh, he's gone.
So many settings to play with. Let's put microphone boost back on.
It helps me, Blue, and Farmers is really quiet. I don't know how. I've checked the volume of you, both of you, and you're both the same for me.
See, the problem is now mine.
Oh, that's
mine,
better.
Yeah, but mine. I'm now permanently lit, even when I'm not talking. So
Oh, right.
something's not right.
We'll just change your if you go into voice and video and you just move up that bar, if you've got the input sensitivity, if you move the bar up, then won't be permanently lit. If you move it up to say a quarter of a way up the input sensitivity bar, then you won't be permanently lit.
Go to about there. No, I'm still lit. Fuck's sake. I
You
want
are
to get
quite
these
loud now.
headphones
I mean,
sorted
you're
out.
actually louder than you're now more loud than I think is comfortable. So you seem to have gone from really quiet to suddenly really loud in one jump. How do you manage that?
Haven't the. Okay, how's that?
You've gone really quiet now.
Yeah,
I hear
Really
it just
quiet.
Fine, quiet but fine. Can make what he says. Just need to listen.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big disparity between Blues volume and Farmer's Boy volume.
How you doing, Rumpus?
Play with your.
And George is really quiet. So is it me, perhaps, then? I don't know. Something's going on here.
Maybe you need to adjust the volumes on your Discord there, buddy.
Well, you sound really loud to me, Blue, and your volumes are the same. You
Well,
sound
what
really
about
loud,
the
and the user volume.
What about the volumes of everybody else? You might have to adjust them individually.
Okay, so it never happened before to me, but
Well,
I don't
doesn't
know.
mean it can't happen.
But George, does blue sound different to Farmer's Boy to you?
Oh yeah, Farmer's Boy is low,
Yeah, right.
but you and Blue are about the same.
Yeah.
So it's right.
You guys
Right, so
argue
we-
about it. I got something I got to run do for a second. I'll be back.
Right, I'm just saying, just for Blue's YouTube, it's obviously awkward if Farmer's Boy is really quiet and Blue is really loud, and I'm really loud and George is really quiet. I mean, it's for Blue. I'm doing this for Blue's benefit, not mine. Well, and mine as well.
Yeah. Blue? Oh, Blue left?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, he
he's gone
said he
away
just
to
had to do something for a minute.
Oh, now you're
Hey,
back up to decent volume again.
I got a question for you, Rumpus.
Hey, what's the
Oh, Brian.
what's the deal with Brian Leakey here displaying a gal with big boobs? Is this his level of
That's my wife,
intelligence
man.
and social
That's-
awareness?
That's not my boobs, man. That's my wife's boobs.
Yeah, bullshit.
You think I'm lying, dude?
What's wrong with you?
Serious?
You got shit for brains?
You really think I'm lying, bro? Honestly,
George, be careful. It might be true.
it might be true. That is
It
so
don't-
funny, dude.
I
Yeah,
I
I
was on the
remember her
ground.
from the angle to the sun.
Does
I
your wife like having her picture displayed in a bedroom on bed with the big boob showing?
We was on a cruise, man. We was on a cruise, and
Your
she was
wife?
we were on a cruise, and she was trying on different things and stuff, and I just took a bunch of pictures and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, girls
very
like it.
nice. I'm sure she likes
As
it
you
all
do,
to be
yeah.
made public.
Women like that shit though, man. Giving them attention and them dressing up and stuff. So yeah, they don't mind shit like that, man. As long as you don't post a shitty picture of them.
George, women do show off their assets.
Oh yes.
What is this? Child's afternoon? What?
What's the matter, George? Did you leave your sense of humour at the door?
George, I mean, it's quite possibly George Brian's. Don't I mean, if this is why, yes, she could easily. Yes, there's nothing.
Ain't no quite possibly about it, dude. That's my wife, man.
Right, so we'll have to accept his word for it, George. I think so. Yes, so.
Yeah, Blue made a video about hair pointing to the sun. You can go and compare with this video.
I'm going to try this one more time. See if you guys can hear it any better now.
Okay.
Which thing?
Wally's done a meme there. That's Wally's meme. And he's done that, a meme
I can't hear
of
anything.
Blue Marbles thing.
Can't
Well,
hear it, huh?
unfortunately, I can hear Bev. He's still quiet, but I can hear Bev, which is always a bit of a shame.
Huh. Oh, well, this isn't working well. And I don't know why.
No, I couldn't tell you. I don't know anything about ABS.
If you just switched off your streaming to YouTube briefly, would I mean what you're doing here? Presumably, you can't. If you're just playing a video in Discord, we should be getting the sound first, shouldn't we? Or primarily, I'm a bit. How can we be not getting the sound?
I don't know. That's what's
Unless OBS
confusing me. OBS doesn't have anything to do with it. You guys are not through OBS.
Right.
You guys are. This is.
Right, you're just playing a video in Discord. Okay, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, but you're sharing. Right, but you're sharing. Presumably, you've got the share screen on. You've clicked on share screen in Discord of a window which is playing the video.
Yes.
Now you could be. Now, do you have the? You could. Your whatever browser you're using to play it. Do you have that volume of that set up or down? But again, presumably if it was not set for, then you wouldn't be able to pick it up on YouTube. Oh, I'm confused now.
No, it's
You
working
know you can
fine
set
on YouTube.
Because you can set the volume for each browser window, can't you?
Yeah.
In the speaker display, the volume there, the master volume, of course. But then I can hear you perfectly. So I mean, you're very loud. So. But then this is your microphone. Yes, obviously the browser volume is different.
You know, I heard the guy, and Bev was very loud, and then Blue stopped it because you guys can't hear it.
It's weird. I mean, I couldn't hear anything at all. Yet you're saying you could hear.
Well, you need to open. Do you watch Blue's screen?
Yeah, I've clicked on his live watch feed. Yes, in Discord, and I could see it, and I could see the animation.
And
but I
it's
couldn't
not
hear
muted.
anything.
It's not muted.
Nope.
Is there a volume? You got a
Oh
volume?
God, yes. Oh, sorry, yes. There is a way of muting it, isn't there?
God
Oh,
damn it, Rumpus! Jesus fucking
sorry,
Christ!
Blue. Sorry.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Sorry, Blue. Yes, I think I have muted the watch screen. Yes. Sorry. Oh God, apologies, Blue. Apologies.
Okay, we shall continue at this point.
Do you think Wally's taking the piss out of Blue Marble?
Oh, I think he's taking the piss out of you.
Well, it's got nothing to do with me, mate. That's Blue Marble. It's Blue Marble's picture. And Wally.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Wally is agreeing with Blue Marble that
That
your
what?
viewpoint is I'm pretty sure that the unclamped Pontchartrain half pipe was brought up by somebody. Blue,
yeah, Blue brought it up. And Jesse Kozlowski, actually. Sorry, Jesse Kozlowski. We're going to be going over that soon. The Globe Surveyors and how they managed to end up tricking Blue into saying something fucking ridiculous. And even Wally's taking the piss out of him.
Let me tell you something, you little dipshit. Wally didn't trick me into anything. Nothing. And there's nothing wrong with this either. This is exactly what we've been saying forever. This is what happens. Level is horizontal is only perpendicular to the gravity vector at one point, Bev. And the further out you go on a horizontal line, the more unlevel that becomes, the more drop there is, in other words. Clear it up there, Rumpus.
Yes, don't forget, drop. There is actually a change in elevation. There is actually a change in two things, of course. The further you go along, I've got a diagram for this if you want me to share that, but obviously would that interfere with your video. But the key thing is, if you're following along a horizontal plane, two things increase. The drop, that is the distance between the horizontal plane and, say, the surface of the water. But you're also changing the drop as in a change in elevation. If you're following on a horizontal plane, you're gradually going out into space, further and further away from the surface of the Earth, so you are actually changing your elevation and what we call the drop. When we normally discuss drop, we normally discuss it as being the distance between the horizontal and the level surface of the Earth. So when you're going out further and further on that horizontal plane, two things are changing. The drop is increasing in terms of the gap between the horizontal plane and the surface of the water, but you're also increasing the drop as in you're changing your elevation. Eventually, if you can, if I was looking, I could be looking at Mount Everest through my auto level from a certain distance away. I could have the graticule of the auto level in on my horizontal line, and that means that my horizontal would extend to Everest. If I was sufficiently far away, the Everest could be in my graticule. So you are changing your elevation as you follow a horizontal. So there's a case where two drops are changing.
Yep. And again, as I'd shown previously, that's what we're talking about. Now, you guys are just going to have to wait till this comes up on YouTube because I can't share it with...
I think he understands that. I think he's talking about, like, in reality. Like, what happens if we have a big sphere, like, say, like at Epcot Center? What happens if we're traveling on that? Then what happens?
Well, he doesn't. Bev does not understand that drop can be the difference between the horizontal and the surface of the Earth. Now, you might understand that. I mean, actually, I'm coming to think you're brighter than Bev, but he absolutely does not understand the possibility of a horizontal. So he doesn't even seem to imagine if you had a football or basketball for Americans, and you put a ruler on it, that there's a gap appearing between the ruler and the edge of the ball. That's what we're calling drop, normally. That's what we normally call drop, not a change in elevation. So the surface of the ball, because it's the same distance from the centre of the ball, of basketball, is all at the same elevation. But Bev, no matter how many times we tell him, refuses to understand this concept of this gap between a ruler you lay on a basketball, anywhere you like, and the surface of the basketball. You seem to understand this. And
I think he does understand it, but maybe you could describe it like this. Tell him that it's just the same as traveling on any ball Like if you or shrinking yourself down, the only thing that changes on y'all's model is that down changes.
Yeah,
Right.
we tried this. I mean, Blue. I think Blue. Well, Blue thinks that Bev understands this. I don't think he does. From what he said about a week or so ago, he's adamant that drop is only a change in elevation. He was absolutely adamant about this. But other people, I think Farmers and Blue, think he does understand what we mean by that. But
well, Rumpus, he could be giving y'all a taste of y'all's own medicine, because when we try and explain things to y'all, like not all of y'all, but a lot of y'all will act like they don't understand. And just because you don't agree with stuff doesn't mean you can't understand it. But believe it or not, most Globers will act like they don't even understand. Like, no. So I think he's trying to give y'all a taste of y'all's own medicine. Maybe.
Not to understand. What do we pretend not to understand?
Like if we're describing something, I mean, God, let me think of it. I don't want to just throw a stupid example out. Give me a second. Let me think of a.
Okay, you think on that, and then Blue can carry on with the video while you're thinking on that.
Yeah, what I was showing to YouTube, and you guys can see it. I'm sure you can see it now. That's exactly what we're saying. Down is always toward the center of that sphere. The level surface is the surface of the sphere. The red line, perpendicular to the vector shown that says down there, is what we would call horizontal.
Yeah.
But it's only 90 degrees to that gravity vector at one friggin' point. And as you go out along that horizontal, that distance from the horizontal back to the surface of the sphere is what we refer to as drop. It's that simple. And that changes depending on where you are. You only have to move over an inch, and you've got a slightly different down vector. That's the way it works on a sphere. So there we go. Let's listen to Bill.
That down vector, of course, changes by 1 degree if you move 69 miles along.
Yep, exactly.
Stuff to the earth.
Exactly.
Don't tell him though. He'll get upset. Sorry, Blue.
Well, what would be our counter argument?
I've got another
Can
one.
anybody steel man it?
Huh?
Can anybody give me our counter argument to that, or how we view it? Can anybody steel man our position on that?
Counter argument to.
Well, Brian's saying that the flat earthers have a counter argument to diverging verticals, and they change by 1 degree every 69 miles. He's claiming there is an alternative argument.
Do they all have an argument that they agree on?
Well, it's pretty universal. There's some of them that are debatable. I don't think this one is. Let's see if Farmer's Boy can steel man our argument.
Well, I have no idea what your argument is, because no two of you buggers agree on anything.
See what I mean? There's a perfect example right there. So whether he agrees with it or not, he acts like he doesn't even know.
No, he doesn't know what your argument is, Brian. Honestly, I don't think he knows what your counter argument is.
No, I don't know what your argument is, because I bet it's not the same as Bev's. Let me the same as every other buggers.
Let me tell you. Okay, well, y'all see the ground's curving it.
What Brian's talking about.
Hold on, man. So farmers, okay, y'all see the ground's dropping 69 degrees every. 1 degree every 69 miles. What would?
No, it's not dropping. It's curving. It doesn't drop in degrees. It curves in degrees.
Yeah, the vertical changes by. Brian, the vertical angle changes by 1 degree every 69 miles.
So I'm asking Farmer's Boy. Nobody else. Y'all get your turn. But let's see if Farmer. This will be a perfect example if he can't. So what would our stance be on that situation? How would we describe?
I've told you, I don't know, because no.
You know what I mean? Perfect example right there.
Brian, let me finish. One of the problems with flat earthers is they very rarely agree with each other. So how am I supposed to know what your argument is when you can't reach a consensus amongst you?
Well, let's see if Rumpus could give it. Rumpus, what would our how would we describe?
I think I am aware that you do have some sort of counter argument, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, how would you explain it on a flat plane? There's only one possible way.
That's the whole point.
There's
only one way. There's only one explanation, man. I mean, nobody can give it to me.
No, we do not believe there is a valid alternative explanation, so we tend to forget.
I did not say it was valid or not, Rumpus. I said there's only one alternative to that.
I can't remember what your alternative is. I'm sorry, I can't remember what your alternative is.
Yeah, well, it's real simple. It's real simple.
Hey, Leaky, quit playing this game.
George,
just tell us.
George, just a moment, please. The Bev has only said it 1 million times. Level is horizontal. That's your argument.
I'm sorry you broke up a little bit, Lulu. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, Bev's argument and your argument, I think, is level is horizontal. That's the only argument you've got.
Right, but I mean, why does our angle change to let's
But
say
do you,
Polaris?
sorry, Brian, are you accepting that verticals are different at 69 miles? Are you agreeing with us on that point?
I mean, it's empirical, right? We can see.
So hold on, Brian.
elevation.
Are you agreeing? The thing we're arguing about now is whether or not the angle of vertical changes by 1 degree over every 69 miles. Are you agreeing with that statement?
Yeah, I'm not arguing with real
Right,
life.
do you hear that, everybody? Right, so we've got Brian. It's a special case of flat earther here. He
No,
agrees
I'm not,
that
bro. I'm not arguing with it.
I thought you just agreed with me that verticals
Don't
change
talk
by
over
1
each other.
degree.
Please.
Brian,
Yeah.
Brian, did you or did you not just agree with me 30 seconds ago that verticals change in angle by 1 degree every 69 miles? Or did I get confused?
So you can only
are
think of
agreeing
one
with
cause for that, Ruffus? You can only think of one cause for that.
Right, so let's just review this for a start. You are agreeing that every 69 miles vertical is changing angle by 1 degree, and therefore all verticals are not parallel. You're agreeing with that statement?
I didn't say that. I didn't say all verticals are not parallel, but Ruffus,
Yeah, but if they're changing angle by 1 degree every 69 miles, they're not vertical. They're not parallel, are they, Brian?
Hey!
Ruffus, when you ask me for a
Everybody,
response...
hold on a second, Brian. Everybody stop over-talking each other. You're making it a mess. The people out in YouTube are not going to be able to understand what anybody's saying. Now, one guy talk, and everybody else be quiet, and then take your turn, okay, and respond to each other. Let's have a civil conversation here.
Right, so I thought I got Brian to agree that the angle of vertical changed by 1 degree every 69 miles, which means that no two verticals are the same except antipodal. That means they are diverging. They're not parallel. You can't agree with the statement that the angle of vertical is changing and then say they're still parallel. If they're changing an angle, they cannot be parallel.
Okay, please don't interrupt me this time, Rumpus. Please. Just let me finish. I'll be short. Okay, you added in right there the angle of the vertical, and I disagreed with that. I brought up the example of Polaris, and I said I don't argue with reality. If we can see the angle to Polaris changing 1 degree every 69 miles, okay, and then I asked you, is there only one explanation for that, and that's that the ground's curving? Is there any other way that the angle to Polaris could change by 1 degree every 69 miles?
Right, but hold on. So I was talking about vertical. We've now moved on to Polaris. But can we just stick with the one thing we started off with? Are you not agreeing that the angle of vertical changes by 1 degree every 69 miles?
I'll say it's possible, but it's not the only way that could work. It's my whole
Right,
point.
but hold on. If the angle of vertical, as indicated by a plumb bob, is changing by 1 degree every 69 miles, that means that verticals are not parallel. Because if you have verticals at a different angle, because they're changing over 69 miles, then they are not parallel, are they? They've got a different angle.
Okay, well, if you could show me a plumb bob 1 degree different from another, we wouldn't be having this debate, Rumpus.
So you are not agreeing. So you are not agreeing with me that an angle of a plumb
No, I'm
bob,
not disagreeing. If you can,
Oh
sorry,
God.
I interrupted that.
Right, so
Yeah,
let's
go
get this right. I thought you agreed with me that the angle of vertical, i.e., as indicated by a plumb bob, changes by 1 degree every 69 miles, and you definitely agreed to that at some point. But obviously, you can go back and change your mind. If you
I'll
are
agree
agreeing
it's possible.
it's possible. Okay, let's just say for the moment it is true. Then that would mean that all verticals are not parallel, then, wouldn't it?
It would.
You're breaking up.
But
You broke up.
it would absolutely mean that. But couldn't there be another explanation? And there's obviously no explanation for me to say verticals are changing.
But if you agree, sorry to interrupt you, Brian, if you agree that or you're saying it's possible, but if you say it is agreed that you can measure the angle of plumb bobs changing by 1 degree every 69 miles, then you must agree that vertical is doing that thing, and therefore those vertical things at 1 degree to one another, or any other degree to one another, are not going to be parallel. So if you accept that this can happen, if it does happen, you have to accept the verticals are not parallel. And if you say it's possible, then you're almost agreeing the same thing is possible. And I'm talking about verticals as indicated by plumb bobs. We can get onto Polaris in a minute, but if you agree with that, then you're agreeing that verticals are not parallel.
Well, that's what you like Polaris and stars and sun. That's what you're using to prove it. You're not showing me plumb
Well, no,
bobs
I'm-
when I go out. For fuck's sake. Okay, when I go out and
Sorry,
measure in real
sorry.
life,
You keep on talking about
if anything's
Polaris, and I'm
dropping,
talking about plumb bobs.
I give up.
Well, you did change the subject, Brian. I was talking about plumb bobs. I was quite specific, and then you switched the subject to Polaris. So if you could,
Well, show me a plumb bob changing. If you could show me that, man, we'll talk about it. We'll carry on.
well, in effect, that's what Jesse Kozlowski has done, and
Yeah. That's what
other
surveyors
people,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're measuring that difference in basically in the plumb bobs.
Yeah, because all an auto level does is using a plumb
Have
bob.
no trouble showing me then. Have
The
no
main
trouble showing me.
surveyor has done a video on it. He has shown how to do it with two theodolites.
reverse zenith angles. That's how you show that.
Well,
Obviously,
let me tell you what I witnessed is when I measure. You know, I've never went over 2 miles, but when but even within 2 miles, and I've actually only done that a couple times, but still, when I'm laying out a horizontal level line with my auto level and leapfrogging, I don't get any changes. If it's lower, then it indicates slope in my reality.
But have you tried it from something of the same elevation?
You're not going to see a change when you leapfrog with an auto level. It readjusts
Well, I'm assuming
itself at every turning point.
I presume he's going to look back. I presume what he means by that is he looks back to where he came from and says, "Oh, look, is where a place like if it's 2 miles away." I mean, if you're looking at 2 miles distant and you can see across 2 miles, you will see through your auto level that you're horizontal. Assuming that the thing you're looking at you haven't changed in elevation, that the thing you were looking at is now below your graticule. So in other words, if you put two auto levels looking at one another at 2 miles away, they would, and the graticules in them would not be going through the auto level that you are looking at. It would go above it. Now, obviously, if you need to avoid a change in elevation to show this, although you can, if you measure the angle using a theodolite, you can, as Blue Marble has done, and we've discussed previously that the sum of the angles does not come to 90, so you can show it that way. But if you want to do it visually, then you need to make sure, like Jesse did, by putting a auto level with its feet in the water of two sides of a lake, or doing what
He didn't do that. He clarified that he did it from one side at a time. But even still, look, let me respond. So
no, hold on. He had a picture. Hold on, Brian. He had a picture of one auto level through the graticule of another one. He had two effectively simultaneous measurements looking at one another.
He didn't.
Can I just ask a really quick question? Just one really quick question.
Hold on, Stingray. Let me respond on Jose's.
Hold on a minute. Hey, Brian and Rumpus, you don't have to have your auto level at the same elevations to.
I said visually, George. I know you don't have to do it to have the angle. I said doing it visually.
No. All you have to do is shoot a range pole with an auto level and put two range poles up.
Yeah, mark it.
Position and see where your auto level hitting the range pole, say 10 feet away. Then shoot a range pole in the distance, get its marking, move your auto level there, adjust the center of the optics of the auto level to that height, shoot back to the first pole and see if you're hitting the mark. If you're on a...
Hey, George, remember that guy on when Ranties was still around, and on his channel, that guy came in and presented the proof, and he showed he was looking through an auto level at 1 mile away across a body of water, and he had a pole on the other side, and he showed the mark. He showed the mark 8 inches below the zero mark, and he was saying, look, this proves that it's dropping 8 inches for a mile, but he could tell he never used an auto level, because that means it's 8 inches higher. If we see it lower, then that means the ground is actually 8 inches higher. What a dimwit. You remember that?
Yeah, but hold on, Brian. Just because some person didn't do it properly doesn't invalidate what George is saying. And George,
yeah, no, I agree with what George is saying. But I was just referring to on Jose's when we brought that up. He specified.
Yeah, well, let's not go into what
he
someone
wasn't the one
else
who actually did that. Wasn't Jesse who did that?
No, but Jesse did also had two auto levels looking at one another, half mile across a lake, and the graticule of one did not go through the auto level he was looking at, and he had them both at the same elevation. He had the legs. He made sure that the auto level optics were at the same elevation. for both of them.
Well, how would we explain that, Rumpus? It's the same thing. I'm trying to get back to get that point past us. I'm trying to get to the point where how would we say that things like the stars, sun, all that? I mean, what's
Well,
the
that's an
cause
optical thing. So, I mean,
of these
presumably you're going to start
changes?
talking about refraction, I suppose. You're going to start saying that there's an optical effect here.
Right, it's all having to do with the light. You know, it's not all exactly the same argument, but it has to do with the light. So our argument would be that, yeah, sure, the ground could be curving at 1 degree every 69 miles, or the angle of the light is coming in differently 1 degree every 69 miles. It's the only other possibility, right?
But Brian, there is an aspect of experimentation that you can use to disprove your hypothesis. You can go out. You know what causes the magnitude change of refraction, and its density change. So you can go out on times when you'd expect huge change, so huge refraction, and then you can have a look at the light divergence on objects, and then you can logically infer that the more refraction, the more wavy, hazy it becomes. And that's not anybody can do this.
Hold on, Dean. The wavy, hazy thing is not related to.
Sorry, not hazy, but wavy. You know, like
well, no,
the
not wavy.
non-continuity of a geometric shape.
No, it can go up and down without getting wavy. The refraction can change without it getting wavy or not.
No, but the point is, the higher the refraction, the more light divergence. The greater the magnitude of refraction, the greater light divergence you get. Therefore, you would.
What do you mean by light divergence? I don't understand what you mean by light divergence.
The light that leaves an object diverges, which means you have angle perturbations as it gets to you, which creates distortions in otherwise straight lines.
You can have all this without distortion. You can have all this without distortions. You can have increased refraction without any distortions or perturbations, as you're calling them.
You can't have serious refraction without that alters it significantly without distortions. I've never seen that.
Well, if you ever, yeah, I mean, for instance, I have done some observations which have shown something moving up and down due to refraction changes. It hasn't become distorted.
You'll get either compression or you'll get lateral distortion. You absolutely will.
No, you're talking about different refraction effect. You're talking about stooping or towering, where there is a distortion.
No,
you can get refraction. Hold on, Dean. You can get changes in refraction. Looming, for instance, does not require a distortion. It can just be a change in elevation as the apparent height, the apparent vertical position of something, without it being distorted or becoming wavy.
Not to any great magnitude, you won't. I've never seen anything change significantly without being able to think, hang about, that's due to refraction, due to the effect that I can see in the image.
What do you mean by significant? The sort of things we're talking about are quite happily able to be achieved without any distortion, and things moving up and down due to refraction without any distortion happening. This is an established fact.
So the thing that you're missing there is the quantification, Rumpus. You've qualified it. So what do I mean by great or small or great magnitude?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, there you go. So you're telling me something and you don't know the values I'm on about.
I'm telling you that you can have things changing in position without any distortion, which you have said. You linked the change in vertical position of something as it appears to with it being distorted or being wavy. Neither of those two things are true.
So you're telling me that you can show me an example of refraction flattening out the Earth without being able to see it, due to the visual artifacts that have been produced by that amount of light bending?
If you mean, can you see distortions and the Earth being flattened out? Yes, you can have. You do not need distortions for refraction to be happening. Standard refraction, for instance, which changes the apparent radius of the Earth, happens without distortion. And you can have variations around that which do not cause distortions.
So that changes 1 degree to what, Rumpus? So that changes 1 degree of curvature to an apparent what of curvature? What degree?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can tell you that it can. Whatever unless you're talking about
insignificant. I'm saying when it gets to 1 degree.
No, typically standard refraction is about 15 to 20% of the Earth curvature. So in other words, you'll have a 50 to 20% change in the perceived elevation of something due to refraction, standard refraction, and that can go up and down.
And I'm saying, show me an image where the Earth comes up flat, and
Oh, that's different. Now, when you say
everything's fine.
flat, that's different. If you're talking about when it's turned actually into where it's apparently flat, yes, that's an extreme case. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about whether or not refraction. He's not arguing it makes it look flat.
No,
he's not suggesting
but
that
listen
situation.
to my point, Rumpus. Let me finish. In order for our statement to be true and his to be true, he is postulating that the refraction on his version of reality changes what we see apparently by 1 degree every 69 miles, to which my response was, with that amount, you would be able to see visible artifacts.
I never said it was refraction causing that. Okay, we know refraction works, but it might be it's a player in the game. But hold on, it's the angle of the light changing every 1 degree every 69 miles, and then when you start getting long distances, like past 1,000 miles, then refraction starts becoming more of a key player. But short distances within a few hundred miles, it works out on both. Just the angle with a local sun.
You just said it was an optical effect, and the only thing you've got to cause an optical effect is refraction.
A local sun, Rumpus.
We're not talking about sun. We're talking about the shape of the Earth. We're talking about auto levels just now. We're not talking about the local sun. What's the sun got to do with any of this? We're talking about auto levels across the lake. You were supposedly expect. It doesn't matter whether the sun is local or a billion miles away.
Did I say refraction? Did I say refraction?
The sun has got nothing to do with what we were talking about, which was whether or not looking across a lake.
Wait a minute, it's better to ask a question, Rumpus. What?
I know, but he brought up the subject of the sun as though a local sun somehow explained what Jesse was observing.
Ask then. So Brian, how does a local sun cause light to bend?
Well, first I want to know why he brought the subject up. I don't need to ask him about it. I say, why did you bring up that subject when we weren't discussing it?
Because I think he thinks that the local sun somehow makes the curvature of light a thing.
Right.
And I'm interested why.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, do you think that? Do you think the sun
first
is changing how light refracts?
First off, you said the angle of light change, and I agreed with that. You didn't say refraction. I wouldn't have agreed with that.
That is what refraction is, the bending of light, Brian. That's this definition.
Let Brian finish what he was saying. Give me a second.
But if the angle of light is changing, the angle of light is changing. Refraction's not the only thing to cause that. The angle of light could change if it's closer, and refraction. That's my point. It's not just refraction. You're boxing yourself in, Rumpus, and you gotta pay attention.
Brian, you got to pay attention. We were talking about the observation Jesse was doing, and you were trying to claim there was an alternative explanation for why we see auto levels that do not appear in the graticle of another auto level looking at it, and you claimed you had an alternative explanation. And
I said it falls under the same. Hold on, let me
now
respond,
you're saying the distance of the sun is somehow relevant to this observation.
Rumpus, I said it falls under the same category. Rumpus, let me reply. I said it falls under the same category. It's a little bit different, but it all falls under the same category. What I said, exactly. So refraction it has to do with light and different angles,
the sun does not
but it's a little bit different.
The optical experience we have of an auto level across a lake.
Yeah, it's the light changing angles. Like I said, it's a little bit different from the
That's got nothing to do with whether the sun is local or not.
I don't care if you agree or disagree, Rumpus. I'm just trying to make a point, man. I'm trying to make a point.
We were talking about how you account for the auto level.
We know, bro. We know.
And then you suddenly start saying it depends on whether the sun is local or not. It's got nothing to do with that.
Bro, you interrupt just to repeat. I don't get it, dude. You're even
why do you bring up whether the sun is local or not? It's got nothing to do with the Jesse Kozlowski observation we were talking about.
Every time somebody goes to talk, dude, you interrupt. It ain't even just me.
Answer the point.
Am I the only one noticing this?
Answer my question.
Let him answer then.
What? Yeah, please, let me answer. Okay. Now, I didn't say that it wasn't refraction or it was refraction. Once again, pay attention. I was trying to figure out what if you could give me another alternative to the ground curving. If it's not the ground curving, what's another alternative? You wasn't able to give me one. You think that it can only be the ground curving. That's the only thing that can change the angle of light. Okay, the sun being closer. That could change the.
No, it doesn't change the position of the auto level across the lake.
But if the light's bending, could that not?
No, the position of the sun does not change what light is doing from the auto level across a lake.
Rumpus, if shit we see off in the distance moves up and down, is that because the ground's curving, Rumpus?
Yes, and the distance to the sun, whether the sun is next to my nose or whether it's a billion light years away, is not affecting my experience of an auto level across the other side of a lake.
I'll ask you again. When we see...
You're breaking up, thank God.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Brian.
Hold on a second. Let me read.
I did find this absolutely frustrating here when you're asking him, we're talking about one thing, and then he starts bringing whether or not a sun is local or not, which has absolutely no bearing on the experience. And going back to what Stingray was said, yes. Sorry, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, just all I was going to say is that, let's calm down a little bit. Nobody can hear anything when both of you are talking at the same time, so don't overtalk Brian when he's trying to answer. And Brian, you're doing it a little bit too, so let's try.
Right, so I'll turn to Stingray's point, which is that he's saying in other words, Stingray was saying that if the world is really flat but it appears to be curved, then you need an inverted refraction, and therefore if that was of 1 degree per 69 miles, you would require a lot of refraction to do that. So Dean is correct in that analysis. You still can get those sorts of levels of refraction without, you're more likely to get into distortion territory, I would agree, at that level.
Can you hear me a little bit better now, Rumpus? Am I still breaking up, or can y'all hear me?
You're breaking up again, Brian.
Sorry, I had to disappear. I had an important phone call from government to take in the middle of what Leakey was trying to tell me. I had to disappear.
Well, we would carry on with the conversation.
Okay, well, last off, I asked Rumpus before I started breaking up. Hopefully, y'all can hear me. I said that if we're looking through a camera and recording, or looking through a telescope or anything in the distance, terrestrial, off in the distance, and we see it bending, moving up and down, or different times we look at it, we see something higher or lower. Is that because the Earth's bending? And Rumpus said yes. That's because the Earth's curving. Would you agree with that, George?
He didn't say no. You misunderstood me. I'm not claiming that things moving around in time are caused by Earth curve, because clearly that's not the case. It's refraction. Obviously, it's refraction.
Okay.
Yeah.
God.
Refraction.
So that shows you what you weren't listening then, Rumpus. Or maybe I was breaking up.
You weren't listening to me. What has the sun got to do, the distance of the sun got to do with the Jesse Kozlowski observation, which was the subject of our discussion?
Nothing.
Great, so don't bring it up again then.
Hold on. Don't bring it up. You're the one who switched the 69 miles per degree to fucking local observation, okay?
I never mentioned the sun. Why did you bring whether the sun is local or not into a discussion about
we started off talking about 69 miles per degree. Am I correct?
It's got nothing to do with the sun. What's that got to do with the sun?
You're telling me not to change the subject. You're the one who changed it from the
don't
original
bring up
discussion.
the subject of the sun while we're discussing Jesse Kozlowski's observation that the graticules of two autolevels pointing at one another do not line up.
Blue, it's like talking to a donkey, man. I don't know how y'all
You're trying
do
to
this.
change the subject, and I'm not going to let you. We're talking about the Jesse Kozlowski thing, which shows that the graticule of an autolevel in the distance, when you look, they're both looking at one another, they both perceive the autolevel to be below their graticule. That's the subject of discussion, not whether the sun is local.
Okay, and my response to that would be, you're looking for long distances, you're going to get different results.
You're breaking up again. We can't hear you, Brian.
Yeah, you're breaking up now, Brian.
Hold on.
You must be in a bad spot or something.
I got good signal, man. This is weird.
I don't know.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're okay now, but you were roboting like crazy there a minute ago.
Man, that sucks. I will tell Rumpus that, if we look over long distances, we'll get very... For fuck's sake, let me try and drop and rejoin again.
Right, so getting back to Stingray's point, yes, if you had to have a 1 degree, if the Earth was really flat, and you wanted to perceive it as we do, which actually is the refractive perception, which is 7/6R, then that would require quite a chunk of refraction. You can actually get what's called bloody, I forgot what they're called now. The spherical, where light circulating rays. In other words, they have the same radius of curvature as the Earth. That doesn't necessitate having distortions and wavy lines and things. But yes, it often does. But it's not.
Okay, I hope I ain't breaking up so bad. But my response to that, I've been trying to get it out, is that if we're looking at something over long distance, like half a mile or 2 or 3 miles, okay, we're going to get varying results. Okay, is that because of Earth curvature?
Well, obviously you've got we know that Brian, you know that I talk about refraction all the time. Obviously, if you're getting varying results, that's due to refraction. Yes, we know this. Why do you think you're raising up a new subject?
Just pick better conditions. I mean,
George has got a record
over
of this.
Several days, an average over several days, you get consistent results.
Right. So my point to Rumpus is that the Earth curvature is not the only cause. That was my whole point. It's not the only explanation for things changing, whether it be the stars, whether it be shit in the distance. There's other explanations. You just said it can change.
If you have a large data set and you average it, you get consistent results, and you get a result that agrees to 8 inches per mile squared consistently.
Really? So my morning result would be we live on a flat Earth. My mid-afternoon result would be we live on a globe.
I said you have to pick stable conditions. You never do things near sunrise or sunset or early in the morning.
Better when the sun's beaming on everything, right?
George, I think you meant to say...
Hold on, George. Rumpus,
George, I think you meant to say the normal mean result will give you standard refraction, not a...
Okay, here's my point. If I'm looking outside, and when am I going to get the most refraction? In the heat of the day or in the morning?
In the evening. In the evening is when you get most
refraction. If I'm sitting in my car and I'm looking out the window and... I can play with refraction just by
in the evening.
Rumpus, why do you got to keep saying that just to interrupt?
Let him go.
Well, okay. Well, he asked a question and he wouldn't listen to the answer. He said, when do you get most refraction?
Shut up, dude, for fuck's sake.
And George has demonstrated this, as does the scientific literature, that it happens in the middle evening. It's a fact.
And early in the morning. It's when your temperature is changing rapidly.
Actually, it's in the evening.
Sunrise, your temperature is heating up quite a bit, and near sunset, the temperature is cooling down. You get very dramatic changes.
It's actually more in the evening. If you look at the scientific literature, they definitely show...
Hey, it wasn't. I said you don't want to do it near sunrise or sunset.
Yeah, he asked the question, when do you get maximum effect? And the maximum effect refraction occurs in the evening.
I did not ask that, Rumpus. What I said was that, here's my point. My point is that we can see refraction even up close when the sun is beaming on shit. We can see refraction over a couple hundred feet when the sun's beaming on
refraction unless it's distorting things.
Man, fuck!
You cannot see refraction unless it distorts things. You can't see whether something's raised up unless you're doing what George does and know that you're looking at a lake that you shouldn't be able to see. If you just look at something like an object and you've got major refraction, you don't know that it's being refracted unless it's associated with non-linear distortion.
Can I give my example, please, without you interrupting? Dude, I'm not being long-winded, bro. I don't know why you got to jump in every time I go to talk, dude. It's aggravating.
Because you made a stupid mistake.
Rumpus, I can deal with sometimes, but every time, bro, it's ridiculous.
You keep on making stupid mistakes, and you made a claim.
Here's my example, bro.
You can see refraction, and you can't.
Guys, nobody can hear anybody.
Don't cut me off this time. Sorry, Blue.
No.
Here's my point.
All right. Go on mute for a second, Rumpus, and let Brian.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
Yeah, just be quiet and let Brian get his point out, okay?
Okay.
I'll start back from the beginning. Since it's short, I'll start back at the beginning, okay? We can in the heat of the day, during the heat of the day, we can witness refraction up close, over even a couple hundred feet, much less, further than that. And that's when the sun's beaming on roads. We could see mirages in roads. We could see shit moving up and down. If you get a camera close to the ground or close to the hood of a car or something, we could see refraction effects on a very local level during the heat of the day. But what George is, I think he's telling me, is that over long distances, even longer distances, they go away. When my point is, we can show it and we all see it during the heat of the day. Go ahead.
Right, what you're talking about, mirages, indeed, those do occur. You can see that's a refraction. But as I said, you cannot see refraction, i.e. if you look at a mountain or an object in the distance, you cannot see that it's being refracted unless it's also being distorted. Now, when you look in a mirage, you're being inverted, so you can clearly see there's a refraction effect there. But with things we're talking about, things in the distance, they're not mirages, they are objects. And unless they're distorted, i.e. they're either inverted or they are crushed or compressed or something, or expanded, you cannot tell refracted. Because you have no means of measuring their elevate. They preserve that aspect ratio. If I were to show you a mountain, Mount Everest, and I moved it up and down by 5 degrees in your line of vision, you would not be able to tell that's refracted. The only way you can tell that something like Mount Everest in the distance is refracted, if it's crushed a lot. And I've actually got pictures in this document I've been doing for 2 years, showing that you can't even tell, even if it's 20% compressed or 20% expanded, just by looking at it, because you haven't got a reference. So talking about refraction, you're talking about mirages, local things. If you're talking about things being moved up and down, you cannot tell they're refracted unless they're also distorted, and that doesn't happen usually.
Does anybody agree with that? Anybody else here thinks that things can't move up and down without distortion? Anybody agree with that, or is it just rumpus?
A simple fact. Anybody knows anything
I didn't
about
think
this?
anybody else would agree with that.
Well, other people are not going to commit themselves. They haven't read the literature like I have, and they haven't looked perhaps at things that I have looked at. And I've looked at things that
but we've all done observations, Robert.
that I do move up and down, and they do not change aspect ratio. And if you do something like get a graphic and you change its aspect ratio, you do not notice that it is being compressed or expanded unless you make major changes to it. And you haven't done any of these visual tests, which I have.
What's your benchmark?
You're breaking up. Can't hear a word you're saying.
What's your benchmark, whether something's moved up or down? What's your initial benchmark? You're using the 8 inches per mile squared or close to it. That's your benchmark of judging how much refraction's going on?
You have to have a reference. So if you're looking at something, which I have done through my auto level, and things have moved up and down, and you can't tell they're in any different to they were before, except unless you have got an auto level reference line in your vision. You cannot tell they're any different. And you normally do not get distortion. Obviously, if you're looking at something very low near the right down, you can get miragey effects and things. But if you're not in that area, if you're looking, a few degrees up, you don't get mirages and those sorts of distortions. Unless you're very close to the ground. Obviously, if you're very close to the ground, like a couple of feet up, then you can also, even if you're looking up, you can still get this. But if you're up at a decent height, then you do not get distortion effects on something. You only get it moving up and down. And you can only tell that's happened if you've got an auto level to hand, and then you can look through the auto and say, oh, look, an hour ago, I've measured things moving up and down, and George has done this as well. George has documented this with photographs, having his auto level at a fixed location, looking at a particular angle, and then he's able to see his lake moving up and down on any particular day. And you wouldn't know if you were there yourself, having a personal visual experience, that this is what was happening. And this is a myth that people have. A lot of people who know nothing about this subject, when they talk about refraction, what they're talking about is distortion. They're not talking about the raising and lowering of things with their aspect ratio preserved. And that is what normally happens. And that's what looming is, for instance. When we talk about looming, that is something that's simply being raised up and down with no distortion. Distortion is things like towering and stooping when it's non-linear. And obviously when you have a mirage, which by definition means that it's inverted, then obviously you can then tell there's a refraction effect there. But if it's not inverted, it's very difficult to tell that it's even major distortions of it still don't register. Normally things just move up and down and you don't know it's going on.
Brian, do you agree that refraction normally elevates distant objects, makes them look higher to us normally?
No, I don't. Not necessarily. I think I will agree with this. For the heat of the day, whether we get more refraction or not, I will agree that it. Well, it's hard for me to agree with that. I'll say this: I try and keep up with mine and state all the possibilities. Be fair about the art, but I don't think we're supposed to be fair at all.
Ron, we just can't hear you.
Yeah, you're roboting again, Brian, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the classification.
I wonder, like, if I'm standing right on top of my router, dude. I think that's the only time y'all can hear me. I have to make a chair over here.
You've got the classic case, because you don't experience it, which means it's not distorted, you don't believe it's happening. If you've got an auto level out, if you actually did what George did, and every single day you looked at a particular object, say a mile away or something, and you looked at it through the auto level, you would see over a period of a day, even over a period of a day, that it moves up and down without you being aware that that's what's going on. And the fact you've just claimed you don't, let me finish. And the fact you've just claimed just now that you don't agree with that means you've never done that observation. If you were to go and do it, get your auto level out, and over the period of a day, look at an object about a mile away, you would see it goes up and down without being distorted, which would invalidate your claim you made 2 minutes ago.
Rumpus, I guarantee I've looked through auto level more times than you've said the word.
But you haven't done it by registering it over the day. You haven't gone every half an hour and said, where's this object? I'm going to look at features of a building or something, and look at a particular story of a building or something like that, or a particular part of a tower, and say, where does the graticule go through that? And then if you go and do that every half an hour through the day, you will see it goes up and down and invalidates the claim you made 3 minutes ago.
Don't tell me what I've done, bro, because you don't know what I've done.
I tell you haven't done it. You have not detailed the measurement of a refracted something over a period of day. I guarantee it. And you've broken up again. Oh, God. Run, why can't you sort out your internet connection? You have a history over years
of not being able to be heard. I've got full signal, bro. I've got full signal. The only thing ain't working is this, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure it out.
Get a bloody laptop or something, so you don't have to rely on your phone or whatever. Get a different phone, anything.
My point is...
Anyway, the point is, Brian, you can go away.
What you said I haven't done, I have done. But not with a building. I've done it with a bar.
Okay, Brian. Here's a task for you. Simple one. You've done previous ones in the past. You've clearly prepared.
But you won't let me respond.
Okay, let me. I'm going to ask you, Brian, to do something. I'm going to ask you to spend a day every half an hour watching the location through an auto level of an object of about a mile distant, and I guarantee you'll come back to here and say, "Oh yes, it moved up and down through the period of the day without being distorted." Oh God, he's gone.
And Brian dropped.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. A, his connection's crap, and B, Rumpus wouldn't let him talk.
I was over talking a bit, but it's just a bit.
Well, a bit. Yeah, come on.
Okay, sorry, guys.
Hey, master of the understatement, Rumpus, dear boy.
Yeah, but the trouble is, unfortunately with Brian, you do have to be a bit firm with him to keep him on track.
Yeah, but Rumpus, a conversation is a bit like a game of tennis. There's a back and a forth. Not just slamming balls at him every 2 seconds. I mean, blimey. Give the old boy a chance, come on.
Yeah, really.
What about Bev proof? I really wanted to hear it. That the two lines that are parallel to a perpendicular that is perpendicular to another line are parallel?
Ah. The Bev video. You want to go back and watch some more of that?
Chike, thank you.
Here we go.
Hey.
I don't know whether he's going to take this out of him for this one as well, but check this out. You'll like this. Because I know you're good at geometry, right?
I'm pretty sure this is a...
You're definitely good at geometry, right? You know that straight lines...
Pretty sure this is supposed to be a parody of your double nutsack drop.
The double nutsack. You've heard of that double nutsack? That was a rallies, though. That's the hump. It's not the nutsack. Rumpus is going for the full nutsack, and he's only doing it. He's not reciprocating it. Nutsack. Rumpus is just going for a one-way, a one-dangler.
Also,
right. See, look at this here. Look at this picture. I've gone over this a few times. See, Blue says there, elevation above the tangent plane.
I'm pretty sure assuming that he was the one who called that the tangent plane.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure he corrected that. That is not tangent plane. That is the chord.
Yeah. It's horizontal, though, right? Is that horizontal, that chord? At which point would you have that chord as being horizontal?
Oh, and by the way, on the day that I showed that slide, I didn't call it that verbally. I called it a chord line. Bev refuses to admit that. I didn't see it was necessary to make a big deal out of it. Bev continues to make a big deal out of it. That has been corrected. It was corrected basically on the spot, Bev. But you just want to continue to try to take advantage of what amounts to a typographical error. So if that's the way you want to play, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean I can vouch for that. You did use the word chord at the time. I think you've accepted. I think you've changed this diagram, haven't you, slightly? But obviously, Bev, this is what makes us know that he's a deceitful little git. So Blue. I know that if he were to make an error like this, and he said I didn't really mean that, I'm quite sure you wouldn't continually cite it. You'd say, okay, well, let's try and find out what Bev really believes. Whereas he is continually using this against you. He's continually using this as a weapon against you, even though he knows that that's not what you believe to be the case.
Yeah, it shows the level of dishonesty Bev is willing to stoop to. This is the sort of thing that causes me to have absolutely no respect for that guy. Anyway, let's go on.
All horizontal. He said it was a horizontal tangent plane. Internal. An internal horizontal tangent plane.
You can view it that way, but you have to bear in mind that it's still a local horizontal, and if you go somewhere else, horizontal will be a different direction.
See, look at this. I mean, look, Wally's doing it again to you. Look, he's showing there Blue Marble's got horizontal planes. It's like he's rubbing it in your face.
Oh, yeah.
The nerve of him.
The nerve of me. What's wrong? What's wrong with this, Bev? Are you having that big problem understanding the simple cartoon I put up there?
He hates reality.
Yeah, we can call them horizontal planes, horizontal line, whatever you want. That basically looks like a tangent, maybe. Okay, could be. But the only point that thing is horizontal is at the point of tangency. At the point it's touching that blue circle. That's that center red line, and that would be a 90-degree angle. The horizontal plane or horizontal line and the gravity vector at that point are perpendicular to each other. That's all it shows, nothing else. But it does show something else. It shows that if you move to another position on that sphere, you've got another horizontal plane, a different one, because the gravity vector moved with you. That's simple. How do they keep messing this up?
Yeah, and they cross. Those two horizontal planes cross one another.
Sure.
They're two angles.
Sure.
And I think he hates, you see, the nerve, you see, he really hates people pointing out reality to him. I mean, it's just extraordinary.
Yeah.
I mean, you're agreeing with all the literature in all the surveying books, and then you've got a nerve to agree with all the literature, scientific literature on the subject. It's a very strange statement.
And it's quite clear that other lines that are perpendicular to one of those horizontal planes, other than that center one, are not going to be pointed toward the center of that sphere. They are not going to be vertical.
That's a really.
I hope I'm coming in better, man. I'm trying to fix this reception, but I wanted to ask Rumpus, man, if
you
could
just give us a second, Brian. Could you just hold on for a second?
Yeah.
So, Blue, I think that's a really important point to emphasise. Any line that does not pass through the centre of the Earth is not a vertical. So, as you've just said, only one of those red lines on those horizontal planes passes through the centre of the Earth. The other two that you've got on the ends, as you can see, will not pass through the centre of the Earth. Therefore, they are not vertical.
That's right. That's the point of the drawing. If Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, man. I hope I'm coming in better, man. I'm trying to do something. If I got one other idea, if I start roboting too bad again, let me know. But I wanted to ask Rumpus a quick question, and see if he knows anything about it. He's telling me what I've done and what I haven't done with auto levels, which is interesting. But I wanted to ask him, if you're gonna look through an auto level, would you agree that to lay out to lay anything out, like say 5 miles of curve, you wouldn't want to go much past about 100 feet at a per shot to be accurate. Would you agree with that, Rumpus?
No.
Well, what's for accuracy's sake? What's the longest distance you'd shoot to an auto level?
Well, an auto level has an angular resolution. The graticule on it. I mean, if you want an angular resolution, then you can go on into infinity. But if you want to know, for instance, whether your horizontal is going to be within a millimeter or something, then you do need to do it, Chris, because the graticule forms the size of the graticule. If you, for instance, if your graticule ran through the moon, I can't remember what the size of a graticule is. It's something like 0.02 degrees or something. That would occupy obviously several hundred meters on the moon if you're looking at, or at least that probably.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna hold you to it. I'm just gonna say everybody's got personal preferences, man. I usually go about 75 to 100 feet.
Yes.
When I'm laying things out, so I'm not gonna hold you to it.
We know the standard procedure for going through plane, but that is going to be subject to the curvature.
Let me ask you a question.
Oh God, the error you're going to get in the curvature of the Earth, and if you do not do a matched black sight and foresight, you will get errors due to Earth curvature.
I didn't say nothing about the curve of the Earth yet, bro.
I know you're not, but I'm telling you, you will get errors as a result of Earth curvature if you do long measurements. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about when the Jesse Kozlowski thing, where you're looking at two auto levels are looking at one another, and they're showing.
I was about to ask a question, bro. You're going off on some crazy tangent, dude. It's crazy.
Okay, you did ask me. Okay, you did ask me a specific question about the accuracy. Okay, you did ask me.
Is it fair to say that about 100 feet, you get some good results? If I jump about 100 feet a shot, and I'm laying out about, say, a 4 or 5 mile line, and my question to you is this: okay, if I'm going to lay out a horizontal, a straight line, 100 feet at a time, okay, in my world, I'm going to keep a zero benchmark all the way along the whole 5 miles. What are you going to do to lay out a true straight line in your world with at 100 foot at a time?
Right, you would be making an error. If you did what you just suggested, if you were trying to get a horizontal line, and then you did that in stages, then you would get a cumulative error due to the curvature of the Earth. And that's not what geodetic surveyors would do.
I'm asking, how would you do it? How would you do a straight line?
I would do it by one observation. I would do it. I would either A, allow for the curvature of the Earth in my calculations and do several of them, or B, do what I would naturally do, which is to take one observation, because I'm trying to do a horizontal line. I'm not trying to be level here. I'm doing what, in fact, in the diagram that Blue's streaming at the moment, if I wanted to generate a horizontal plane as Blue has got on screen at the moment, if I wasn't prepared to do lots of calculations, then I would want to do just through observations. Then I would make one observation at the point in the center that Blue's got, where the midpoint thing, and then I'd make one observation through the auto level, and then see where that intersected on some point, and then say, right, let's suppose it hit a building in the distance, and I would say that point is horizontal to me at my observation point. If I did lots
of there's no build, bro? I'm asking you how, bro. You're not telling me how. What I'm going to do.
Okay. Let's suppose there's a hill in the distance. Let's suppose there's a hill in the distance. I would look through the graticule, and then say at that point on that hill, God, send someone over there. And say when you get to the right point and you wave your hand and then stick there about, say 5 miles away if I could see you. You'll put up a big target or something, and then I'd have to also allow for refraction afterwards as well. Unfortunately, I would then get this person to go away, and then through one observation on the side, because it has to be raised up, because of course, as we can see from Blue's diagram on screen, something that follows a horizontal.
Just tell me how, you bumbling idiot.
I'm trying to. Shut up. So I said you would get one observation, you would get someone to go over that distance on the side, and it have to be on the side of a hill because it would be increased in elevation over what you've got.
Oh, you would do it, not me. How you would do it, bro.
Shut up. That's exactly how I would do it. I would get an auto level, I would make one observation through it, and where my this 5 mile distance thing, which would be up in the air, therefore it'd have to be on a hill or a building or something, and then I would get someone to put a target there, and the graticule through my auto level would then match that, and I would say, that point there is horizontal to where I am, though I'd also have to allow for refraction, just to confuse the issue, and then I'd be effectively doing what that Blue has got in this diagram with this horizontal plane, except for the fact that it's bent due to refraction, so you have to allow for that. So it's a bit more complicated. It's not simple. And you then do that and then say, that's where it is. God.
And your next 100 foot.
You don't do that in surveying. You do not generate horizontals. What you do in surveying is generate levels, not horizontals.
Come on, guys.
No one uses
dude,
horizontals.
we heard you. We heard you, bro. Now go another 100
feet. I changed the subject to levels. There's level and horizontal. And you're
Now
talking
go to
about
100
being
feet.
level.
What are you going to do on your next shot, Rumpus? On your next. So that was your first shot. What are you going to do on your
that's
next
it,
shot?
in total. That's the total shot.
So you're going to do one shot. How are you going to lay
Yes,
out?
one shot. One shot. Yes, one shot.
Rumpus.
How are you going to give me a fucking mark every 100 feet? How are you going to give me a mark every
shot? One shot.
Rumpus, how are you going to give me a mark every 100 feet with one fucking shot, you idiot?
You didn't ask for that. You didn't ask for that. You asked me how I was going to get something to be horizontal 5 miles away. You didn't mention
I
anything.
said every 100 feet.
No, you didn't say that. You said that's how you would do it. So, right, so now the new requirement, you want a horizontal line and with markers at every 100 feet. Is that the new request?
Yes, with an auto level.
Right. Okay. In which case, then, I would send someone off at every 100 feet away. I would ask them to stop. At 100 feet away, put up a target, staff, say, there it is. Then go away another 100 feet. So I did 200 feet away, set up another target, and then say, there it is. And then eventually carry on that to 5 miles in the distance until eventually they then ended up 5 miles, very small, have to have a huge rod, huge target, and then say, there you are. That's where you are. That's how I would do it. Though I'd have to allow for refraction, unfortunately.
Ladies
no
and
one does
gentlemen,
that,
Brian.
No one does that. Brian, no one does that because what they do is they want level. They don't want a horizontal. Unless you're doing LIGO, you don't want to do what you've just described. What you want is something that is of the same level, which, as the diagram in which Blue is showing on screen now, are two different things. And then you would use a completely different procedure to the one I just described, which is just for generating horizontal.
Okay, so if you went to lay out LIGO, Rumpus, you'd send somebody 2 miles, and then you'd keep your auto level at the same spot, and then you just keep sending them 100 extra feet a pop, bro. You get lapped off a job site, bro. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I do. I know that wouldn't be good enough for LIGO because they need it within the millimeters, and that's why they do not use that. They use differential GPS because we've now
That
got
wouldn't be
GPS.
good enough for nothing, Rumpus. I'm just telling you.
Well, it would be, but it is because angularly correct. I mean, 5 miles. What would it? If I think what I was saying, the angular resolution of an auto level, I think was that is that 0.02 degrees? I can't remember what the damn resolution. I could tell you what the error would be if you give me a moment. So if we say that an auto level has an accuracy of that's the eyesight is 0.02 degrees. It's something say 10 times better than that. I can't. How many arc
second? About an arc second.
How many arcs? Yeah. What's the arc second? The resolution of a
really good auto level will have 1 second, 1 arc second resolution.
Right. Okay. Let's do that then. So let's do that 5 miles, and I can then tell you how much error I'm going to get. So if we have 1 arc second, which is 1/360th of a degree. Whoops. And then we can.
No.
1,600, Rumpus.
What was it? Sorry, what was it, Blue?
An arc second is 1/3600th of a degree, not 1/360th.
He don't fucking have a clue.
Yeah, I did say that. I said 3. Yeah, so I've written down in my thing as 3,600ths.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, I didn't get that wrong. I may have, perhaps I said something incorrectly, or my mum didn't. Right. No. Right. So I'm about to. Right. So if we say that over a distance, we'll be doing 5 miles. Brian, is that what the distance you want to consider?
Yeah, I was just throwing that out as an example.
Okay, all right, fine, that's fine. That's fine.
No,
as an example.
Just call it 25,000 feet.
I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it 8 kilometers, because that makes my calculation. So that means, right. So
hey, while you do your calculations, let me tell Blue something. Blue, a guy made up a point the other day in Earth Awakenings about using the metric system, and he had a pretty good point, man. Because I was on a particular job, and I was doing like the radius to the stairs, them 7 steps, and and they were increasingly shrinking. But plus I had to slope them too a little bit. And I'm sitting here having to do all this math, and I thought about it, and I was like, he's absolutely right. If I just use meters and centimeters, it would be so much easier. I mean, have you ever thought of that? I mean, I almost got to hand it to him, man. It's a way easier freaking concept, man.
All my life I thought about it, Brian. When you go through engineering school, you become bilingual, so to speak, when it comes to units of measure. We're stuck with feet and inches and sixteenths and 30 seconds and all that bullshit. But you know, any chance I got to use metric, I used it. It's so much easier. It really is. I wish we'd stop all this silly shit, but supposedly we tried, but you know, it just hadn't caught on.
I have a result.
Shout out to John
Right,
Watson, 5 pounds. Okay, I got a super chat here. John says, I thought this was blue marble science. I have mistakenly tuned into the Rumpus plus Brian show.
Sorry, John. I'll shut up a bit.
John, yes, believe me, this is like trying to herd cats, John.
I've got an answer anyway to Brian's question, which is, so remember the question is, I said I would do an observation over 8 kilometers, which is 5 miles. 5 miles is about 8 kilometers. We were saying with an Blues provided me with the accuracy of 1 arc second for the accuracy of a auto level, really good auto level, and that would give you over a distance of 8 kilometers an error of 7 millimeters. So that means if I were to do LIGO using the procedure that I described, I would have an error of 7. This is not allowing for refraction, remember. I've not allowed for refraction here. So let's pretend refraction doesn't...
Robert, you haven't described the procedure yet.
Jesus Christ,
I gotta cut in.
Shut up.
Describe your procedure first.
Shut up. I've just described... I've told you I'd make one observation, and then I would get a target at 8 kilometers away, and then I would be able to get the accuracy of that using the graticule... the size. I suppose I need to consider what the. Yeah, well, if you use the resolution, the angular. Oh, yes, I suppose I need to know what the angular, the graticule. It might not be quite as simple as I said. Okay, but provisionally, I'm using the accuracy of 1 arc second. That would be within 7 millimeters over a distance of 8 kilometers, not allowing for refraction. There you go.
Okay, so your first shot. Okay, so you're sitting on your benchmark. Okay, you're 100 feet away from your benchmark. And your benchmark shot reads 5 foot. Okay, now your second shot, 100 feet away. You can change it to 75 feet or 125 feet, whatever your personal preference is, whatever. Okay, now your second shot. Okay, carry on. What are you going to do to lay out that straight line? We already know that you've done we know that you've done your 5 mile shot or your 25,000 feet shot. But now you're going to lay it out. Now you're going to lay out a line for them to build.
Oh, Jesus. All I would do is get a target, or staff, particular position on staff pole, and I would simply move the staff pole further. And obviously, given the fact that it's getting very small, I would have to increase the size of the target with distance. But even at something like, with my rect thing, for instance, I'm looking over 8 kilometers, and I've had to make a target of 5 feet in size so that I can clearly see what's going on. But nonetheless, let's say if you forget about refraction, then I would just put a series of poles, and I can get, in theory, although you need to possibly you could do with a greater magnifying telescope.
Call them stakes. The poles, call them stakes.
Okay, stakes. It doesn't make any difference. So the point is, you could have a series of stakes or poles or whatever you want to call them, going off into the distance with something on them, just so you can see where someone. You can even get someone with their finger or something. I think, in fact, you probably couldn't see a finger. You'd need to have a bigger thing that, as it went into 8 kilometers away, you would have to increase the size of this thing you were looking at. But just with one observation, that would give you a horizontal, presuming you don't have to deal with refraction, which of course you do in the real world. And no one, of course, does that unless you're doing LIGO or something.
So, Rumpus, how would you know that 8 kilometers away, if you're not even on your benchmark, you're 100 feet away? Okay, well, I ain't even gonna ask that. That's kind of provocative. But let me ask this.
What?
Okay, let me ask this. Okay, so you're gonna send somebody out to the end, 25,000 feet away, and where are you gonna mark what are you gonna mark, and where are you gonna mark it exactly?
Oh, Jesus Christ! I send them off with a pole or something just for them to make a mark on it, and I'll ask them to just show me their finger or whatever, or if they've got something I can read, I'll say, yes, the horizontal is at, I don't know, 2 meters, 3 centimeters on your pole.
Your benchmark was 5 feet, okay, and you stayed in the same position, and you pulled him off your benchmark, which was 5 feet, and then you go 25,000 feet away.
5 foot elevation. Sorry, what do you mean your benchmark's at 5 feet? You're talking about 5 foot elevation?
Yeah, you set up 100 feet away. Okay, your benchmark. You're reading.
It doesn't
5
matter
foot.
what elevation I've got, Brian. I'm looking through an auto level. I would be whatever. I would be horizontal with respect to the eyepiece of the auto level. Okay, if that's 3 feet above the benchmark, it's 3 feet above the benchmark.
Okay,
And
call it 3
don't
feet.
don't seem to understand the basic geometry of the problem.
Rufus, I'm trying to just slow down, bro. Slow down.
But you're just
okay?
talking bollocks.
Now, I'm trying to help you, bro.
understand
I'm
what we're
trying to help
doing.
you. I'm just trying
You're
to
not
help
helping
you.
me. You're demonstrating you don't understand what you're talking about.
Okay, good, great. Okay, so now, okay, you want to call it 3 feet on your benchmark? That's fine. Okay, so you're 100
It's
feet away from
irrelevant.
your
It could be 27 feet. It doesn't make any difference.
The benchmark is where they want the fucking thing to be, Rumpus. You're telling me it's irrelevant? You're telling me where they want their fucking.
Well, okay, you have to
built.
subtract. Okay, if you want it to be at 3 feet, your benchmark's at 3 feet, and then your auto level is at 3 feet high, then you need to know the elevation of your auto level, but you can measure that above your benchmark, and then I just
No, you don't, you idiot. No, you don't. Okay, you don't need to know the elevation of your fucking auto level, you retard. Let me tell you. All the auto level is a straight line.
Well, okay,
with
you then nuke to another pole, but this is irrelevant. You've just brought up a little procedural
You
issue
wanna
that's got
listen and
nothing
learn a
to
little
do
something, man,
with
or
the
not?
principle we're talking about. Yes, I know you use another post. You don't actually measure the height of. Well, actually, you can work it out. It's called the height of the instrument, isn't it? In your notes, in the field notes you have, it's the height of the instrument. So you need another measurement to say that. But this is irrelevant to what we're trying to do. You're asking me how to generate a horizontal line from an auto level or to some other point. So you then look round, say local to, okay, so 5 feet away from your benchmark, you then say, this is the thing I'm going to line it up with. So you then say, right, I've got, using your auto level, you can then say, right, this other staff, whatever next to me is 5 feet high, whatever. And then I can then work out with respect to that, having got my auto level to a particular height that I'm interested in, I can then still look through 5 miles away or 8 kilometers away and then do what I described earlier. The thing you're talking about now has got nothing to do with the principle we're discussing of how you generate a horizontal line up to 8 kilometers into the distance.
Let me reword this. Let me reword it for you.
You're just talking about fiddly irrelevances to do with not the principal issue we're talking about.
All right, let me reword it, Rumpus. Okay, so their beginning position where they want this line laid out so they can build something exactly along that line, such as LIGO. Okay, not exactly LIGO, but just follow me. Okay, so they put up, just listen, they put a benchmark or where they want the line at.
I'll go into more detail then. Okay, I'll go into more detail. Okay, I'm going to go into more detail then. What you do is you put a pole on the benchmark. No, I'm going to give you the whole detail then. You're going to put a pole on the benchmark. You then set up your auto level so that you then align it, say whatever with the you set up to height, and then you read off on the pole. Say it says 2 meters high through your auto level that you set up, the pole sitting on the benchmark. You then turn the auto level round and then look into the distance wherever you want to go off to, and then you do the procedure I described. So all you've done is added an utter irrelevance to how you initiate the measurement.
Hold on.
It's got nothing to do with the principle of horizontal, Brian. You're trying to distract from the issue at hand.
Well, let me ask a question then. So you're not set up, lined up with the line you're laying out. Are you now saying you're going to set off to the side?
What's that got to do with the issue of horizontal level?
Well, I'm asking, are you shooting the beginning and the end from one location?
Yes. I'm 5 feet away from the benchmark. I've established what looking through the auto level at the pole on the benchmark, and then I'm turning around and then pointing wherever I wish to go to this thing, wherever I wish to, with azimuth I've established is where you want to set off, and then I'm looking through, as I told you before, and then sending someone off with a pole. I'm not changing the auto level position at any stage in this, and they're wandering off into the distance, putting down poles, and I'm telling them where, looking through the auto level as to where that the 5 feet that I measured on the pole sitting on top of the benchmark. I mean, you're introducing fiddly little procedural things that have got nothing to do with the principle we're discussing.
I'm asking questions, bro. I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah, but they're nothing to do with the issue at hand. You're asking now the fiddly procedures to do with, but they're nothing to do with the principle that's under discussion. You're just trying to demonstrate that you do this little bit of procedure that every trivial planer surveyor doesn't understand. And I just admitted it because it's not relevant to the discussion we're having.
Rumpus, you are such a fucking idiot. It's
No, you are a
amazing that they're letting
moron.
you
You're
carry on.
trying to
I can't
deflect from
believe
the
nobody's
issue at
saving you,
hand
dude.
by saying, trying to work out whether you set up the pole on the benchmark or you set up the auto level on the benchmark, and you're trying to worry about these little details which have got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
So you said what's the height of your first shot? Okay, you said, did you say 2 meters? Your first shot to your benchmark, and you're 5 feet away. Anybody who's listening, he's 5 dumbass feet away from his benchmark, and you say your first shot is something. So your first shot is 2 meters high. Okay. Now, okay, and then you said you're gonna turn the auto level to point toward the end of whatever you're laying out.
Yes.
And which is going to be 25,005 feet away, right?
Yes. How many times do I have to tell you this?
Listen, now, okay,
I've told you this about 10
right.
times.
Just making sure I understand. Okay, so then
I told you 10 times. You're so stupid and moronic and willfully stupid.
You send your guy 100 feet away to lay out your first mark. Okay, what do you do to lay out that first mark? You got a bunch more to do. You got to do it every 100 feet for them to build it.
Yes.
So your first mark at 100 feet, what do? Tell me what you do.
But this is irrelevant to the issue. I'm just going to get them to take their
tell me how do I mark my pole? How do I mark my stake?
And then I'm going to tell them to reading off the value off their pole, what it is, and they're going to say, right. And so I could take a reading from that.
Okay, so how?
The place they put, yeah, so they carry on that percent. But this is just trivial detail that's not relevant to the issue we're discussing.
Well, they got to be able to put a mark for me, Rumpus, or I'm not going to be able to build their layout. So how are they going to mark? Tell me, you're standing at the auto level still. It's not going to move.
Yes.
Now you move 100 feet. How are you going to? What are you going to do to get the mark on the first stake?
Well, I'm going to read off the value. I'm going to look through the auto level, and I'm going to look at the person 100 feet away, and I'm going to read off where. Let me finish. The graticule of my auto level is going to intersect with their staff pole, and it's going to give me a number I can give to them.
What are you going to look at, though, Rumpus?
I'm looking at their pole with their marking, the measurements on it.
And where's their pole at? Where's their pole from bottom to top?
What are you trying to?
Blue. I can't cope with this, Blue, anymore. I mean, he's asking me to go through the basics differential leveling procedure, and it's just ridiculous.
I'm just exposing your dumb ass.
Yeah, you just exposed you as you're not prepared to discuss the issue, and you want to talk about the details, and I've just described them correctly.
You see how he tries to act like an expert and everything, Blue? I'm just trying to I'm waiting on him to just listen a little bit.
And everything I said was correct.
Questions. You don't know the answers to them, Blue.
I've said really don't know everything, and you've tried to turn this from the discussion about level and horizontal into the
just tell me how am I going to get a mark on my first
and I've just done it.
Guys, stop it. That's enough now.
Brian.
Stop yelling over the top of each other.
Both all right, I'm just asking, how am I going to get a mark on the first stake? You know, anybody could answer this.
I told you. I've read off a number in the auto off the pole, and then he knows, the person who's holding the stake then knows exactly where the horizontal my graticule hits his measurement pole. I mean, this is trivial.
How's he going to know that, Rumpus? How's he going to know that?
I've told him. I've given him a number. I said he's got a measuring pole in his hand on which there are numbers, and I read out and I tell him by mobile phone. Yes, the number where the horizontal is 7 meters.
Rumpus, he can't see the numbers.
Meters for where you happen to be.
That's
why he can't see numbers. The numbers are facing you, buddy.
You're not going to be able to read.
Yes, the numbers are facing me. Yes, through the auto level, I'm reading them.
Jesus,
oh my God!
Goddamn Christ! You're not going to be able to see numbers on a damn. You're not going to be able to see the numbers on a pole from 5 miles away.
Indeed, you're not. That's why I was talking.
You're just not going to see it. What are we trying to achieve, Brian? You want a series of marks on something every 100 feet over a distance of 5 miles. Is that what you're doing?
Blue, I know you know, Blue. I was just trying to show Rumpus trying to act like an expert and everything, man.
Because I'm
just trying to say you don't know anything at all about surveying.
I'll tell you exactly how you can do it.
I talked about creating big targets.
Tell Rumpus and watch how quick he interrupts to tell you it's making kind of funny, man.
I don't know why I would be want to be doing this. A very impractical thing. We don't normally care anything about a horizontal line when we're in construction.
Well, but I mean,
we only care about level.
Like we're building Legos.
If I want to build one myself. Yeah, well, there's a good reason. LIGO did use dual frequency differential
GPS,
GPS.
right? Before GPS, I'm just saying, if they wanted to build a LIGO.
But before they did that, there'd be a number of methods you could use. But if you wanted the one-shot method, okay, where you never move that auto level, otherwise you're going to bring into account globe calculations to account for the curvature. But let's say you just want to do it the hard way. You send that guy 5 miles out there with a radio in his hand, and a pole tall enough. I think the drop's going to be something like 17 feet over that distance.
Right.
You're going to have to get him out there and get him up on the ladder and have him hold something you can see through your auto level. And,
I said a target. If you remember earlier, I said a target.
Let me finish! Jesus! And have him move his mark however you can do that. Piece of tape, whatever, wide piece of duct tape, whatever you want. However, whatever you can see in that distance. I don't know what it would be. I'm not looking through an auto levels at the moment, so I can't tell you. But you would have to physically talk to him on your cell phone or a radio in the old days is what we would do, and tell him to go up or down or whatever until you're satisfied that the crosshairs in the auto level are hitting the spot that he's marking on that pole. And then you back up towards yourself 100 feet and do it again, and back up another 100 feet and do it again. That's the only way I can think of that you're going to do that.
And I described exactly that about 10 minutes ago, having a big target at 8 kilometers. We were talking about just the 100 to 200 feet bit. I described exactly that procedure to Brian. And I know you can't read at that distance. That's why I talked about a big target 10 minutes ago. And that's why I'm getting frustrated with this tosser, because I described exactly this issue 10, 15 minutes ago. Oh!
Rumpus, you said you're going to set up 5 feet away.
That was for the local ones. I described to you a big target at 8 kilometers away.
Oh. You guys were talking past each other on the 5 foot thing. Rumpus is talking. Rumpus is thinking about a benchmark on the ground and setting an auto level up over the top of it, 5 feet above it. That's what he's talking about.
No, he said 2 meters above it, 5 feet away and 2 meters above it.
No, not
Pretty
5 feet away.
5 feet.
What I was talking about was because what Brian wants to do is the usual procedure, which is what you do is you set up a benchmark, you set a pole on top of it, and then you use your auto level to set. Then normally, obviously, you'd put a decent distance from it. But I was saying because you could be right next to it, and you just want one, you're not going to move the auto level. You would just set up your auto level next to a benchmark with a pole on it, and then say right, because he presumably he's getting into fiddly detail about what the height you wanted. He was talking about a particular height.
Detail.
Oh Jesus!
I'm trying to ask you how you get a mark on a
tried to put in all the extra tedious detail about being near the benchmark with your auto level, looking through your pole at the benchmark with a pole on top of it, and then reading off, say it says, I don't know, 2 meters, and then you turn your flipping thing round and then point to this thing in the distance, which I also described had to be a hill or something high up. I went to all the details that Blue just covered for you, Brian, 10 minutes ago, and with a big target, and you just didn't listen at all.
There's one key detail you left off if you don't interrupt, okay, which would be a miracle. Okay, I'm asking, how would you mark the first stake? Just don't go into the fucking how auto level history. How would you mark the first stake and then the second stake? Okay, if your first mark is...
You've broken up. It's very simple, Brian. You would look through the auto level.
The only thing important is getting lines on your stakes, okay? Your stakes are lined up from beginning to end. How are you going to put a mark on your first stake and then your second stake?
Right, Brian. On this, you could do what I said originally, which is just have one big target, but because you were insisting on the numbers, you could use a staff until you get up to what, a few hundred meters away. But I was initially saying, if you listen to me, having a big target, which you would then raise or lower to match the graticule in the auto level, and then the person could then leave a permanent record with the pole in that position, or measure to somehow from there they could do a local measurement to another benchmark in the local area to say how high that target is above another local benchmark. So they would then what do you mean? How would you do that? It's like saying
how's the guy holding the pole to the market? I'm just asking, how are you gonna get a mark on the pole? And so you're looking through your auto level, and let's say the benchmark. Hold on, the benchmark was 5 feet. Okay, so what
Brian,
reading are you going to get 100 feet away?
Brian, there are marks.
What reading are you going to get? And then
on the
how do you get
thing
a
he's
mark?
holding. He's got a target, or you could either have marks on it with numbers, or you could do what I said 15 minutes ago. You could have a target he's raising and lowering, and then when he's got the target in the graticule of the auto level, he would then leave it there. Now you could either then work out what the height of this is using another technique from that point, like he could work out from a local benchmark or some other means, or he could leave the
what's
pole
the second
there.
reading?
Be
What's the
quiet.
reading? Just tell me the
and
reading,
then he
bro.
could go and
Tell me
then
the
later,
reading.
and then for the next one, he could create a new pole. But there are lots of different ways of doing this.
Tell me the reading at the first mark. Okay, you're going to tell him to raise and lower the pole. Okay, what reading at the first mark, and then what reading at the second mark are you going to line up with if the benchmark is 5 foot?
Pole on the
He
ground?
will raise the target up and down until I've said through the auto level it matches my graticule. He will then make a record of how much he's raised or lowered the target, and then he could leave it at that and then just make a record in his book. I'm also making a note of where he left them on, then move on to the next position. Why are you having such a problem with this?
All right, all you're trying to do is make a horizontal line. If at each point along that line, those 100 feet increments, you leave a target there that was
Okay, so
along
we've
that
been wasting our
horizontal
time
line.
our whole life.
Oh my God, Brian, don't do this. If you leave a target there at every point in the 100-foot increments where that line intersected the reticle of the auto level, what you've got, if you accounted for refraction anyway, in the midst of all this, is a horizontal line that passes through each of those targets.
What target,
That's
dude?
all that.
What are you
That's
talking
all
about?
that you require. That's all that you require.
What are you talking
in
about?
order
Leave
to
a target.
get-
Leave
that's
what
all
target,
that you
dude?
require. That is all that you require in order
Okay,
to
good.
make a horizontal line. Is those targets?
What target am I going to leave, dude?
A
Just
peg
see
in
where
the
you're about.
ground, Brian.
What target? Okay, what am I going to leave there?
It's the target he raised and lowered. He's got a target. He's got a pole with a telescopic target. He's moving the target up and down. He stops moving it when I've told him that the graticule goes through the center of the target. He then makes a note of the height of the target above the point on the ground he did it. He can then either leave that pole there, as Doofus said, and then get another pole and get a telescopic pole, or he could then make a note in his notebook of how much he had to raise it, and then take that pole, the telescopic pole and target, to the next point.
What do you mean make a note of how much you had to raise it?
He's got on the side of the pole. He's got a series of measurements on that. So how much he's raised the pole
He
up
can't
and
see him,
down.
Rumpus. He can't
No,
see the numbers, Rumpus.
the pole has got measurements on the side of the pole as to how much he's raised the pole up and down.
He don't know how much he's raised up and down. Rumpus, he don't know how much he's raised up and down.
Listen to me.
Hold on,
The
man.
guy
Let me respond. Let me
the guy at the
respond.
pole has a measuring tape
No,
on the
he
side
can't.
of the pole, and he's got a target. He's raising up and down the pole, and he makes a note of how high he had to raise the target up using the measurements on the side of the pole that he can see because he's next to them. And he makes a
He
note.
can't see them. He don't know.
He can see them. He's next to
Let
them.
me
You
make a
stupid
point.
fucking moron. He's next to them.
I think I'll give you guys a break for a second. This is clearly out of control. Shout out again to John Watson for another £5. And this time he says it almost sounds like Brian is being led by the nose through basic surveying. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Hold on,
You're talking about leaving targets.
Just 1
if I can
second.
respond.
Brian,
dude,
just
let me
calm
respond.
down.
For fuck's sake, dude.
Brian Leakey, hold on. This is
Let
super
me respond,
simple.
dude. Shut the fuck up.
I
You
will
don't
allow
know.
you
Let
to
me
respond
respond,
as soon as I make
Dude,
sure
that'll
that
take
you're
2
aware.
seconds, man.
I
2
get
seconds
it.
for me to respond.
I understand.
Guys.
I'm just
Dude,
going to
it'll
go
take
ahead
2
and
seconds,
I'm just
man.
going to go ahead anyway. I'm
Yes.
just going to go ahead anyway.
You're next. You
Brian
shut the
Leakey.
fuck up.
Brian, no.
Dude,
Brian Leakey.
so all we have
what
to do
you
is
can-
turbo is have one guy with auto level, and he can go for whatever distance he wants. We've been wasting our time all these years moving the fucking auto level because genius Rumpus and Doofus think that you could shoot off fucking into 5 miles. They're fucking retards.
All right, so Brian, hold on 1 second. Now I get a chance. Hold on a second, because I get a chance to respond now, right? So, what we're attempting to do, Brian Leakey, is we're attempting to set up a horizontal line. We are not attempting to set up a level line. Of course, if we were trying to set up a level line, we would move the auto level. We're not doing that procedure because you've asked us not to, Brian. The problem is that you're asking us to do a procedure that surveyors don't do specifically.
Correct.
No, I did not ask you that. You said a horizontal line.
Yes, because you asked for a horizontal line, not a level line.
So are you saying that every line we lay out is bending?
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
A level line.
If you're laying out level, it is bending, yes.
Okay, it's bending? It's literally curving, Blue?
Yes, it literally curves.
He's got it wrong.
Brian, it's little straight lines, little segments. You're approximating a curve with little straight segments.
Okay, segments. See, so it's not curving. It's angling, right?
Well,
it's not curving and angling.
You can think of it different ways, but I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and that was a little bit picky.
Between any 2 points with your auto level, that thing is shooting a straight line, right? We know that. It's shooting a horizontal line, which is perpendicular to the gravity vector at that point. This is the entire theory behind differential leveling. This is why you shoot.
Right, but I was cutting him off because you see why I was cutting him off there. He was talking about the guy holding the pole is going to raise it a certain amount. He don't know. I'm trying to tell Rumpus he wouldn't let me, but it's just a guy holding a pole. He don't have a tape measure to refer with the pole. He just the guy shooting tells you whether to raise it or lower it, and whenever he gets it set, the guy makes a mark at the bottom of the pole. That's all I was trying to get out of Rumpus, but he didn't know, Blue, and I know you know that, but I don't know if Doofus or any of them know.
Everybody else understood me,
what
Brian.
Rumpus was describing to you was a different situation in which the guy that's at each of those points, he has a target. That target has some sort of measuring tape on it. That guy, in this specific scenario, can see how far up that thing is from the ground. You kept telling the Rumpus that he
so if you tell him to raise it 6 inches, how is he going to do that, Doofus? If you say raise it 6 inches, how is he going to know to raise it 6 inches? If he's just holding the measuring tape.
Once again, Brian, because you missed it, the target has on it a measuring tape on the side of it. That specific target in this hypothetical situation, the guy that's holding it does know. The guy that's holding it in this hypothetical situation does know how far it is from the ground.
Brian, you do it with the radio. Brian,
okay, so
Brian, I can tell you the answer. I can tell you the answer to your
everybody
question.
heard that.
Brian, I can tell you the answer to your question. The person in the auto level asked the person to raise or lower it and continue to do so until the target is in the gratical lines. He's not asking to raise it up by a particular distance. He's saying to the guy at the pole, raise it up, stop, raise it down, lower it down, raise it up, right, you're now in the center, stop now, make a measurement. He's not asking him to raise it up or down by a certain distance.
Not a measurement. Then you make a mark. When he gets it where it needs to be, you make a mark. And when Doofus and you were talking about raise it a certain amount or lower it a certain amount, and he said in reference to the ground, that's so crazy because the ground's going to be doing all kinds of different shit, going up and down. You know, so that just shows Doofus don't have a clue either.
You wanted to know where a horizontal was, and so if you make a note of where that benchmark was, that position on the ground was, you can say in the air, you can leave the target there, as Doofus also said, you could leave the pole there. If you want to leave a line of posts that are horizontal, you could make a new post each time, or you could just simply say, using the same post, I happen to know, using the measurement on the tape on the side of this telescopic pole, that above that point, so you make a cross on the ground, and you say, I'll put a benchmark there, and you say, that is the position I stopped, and I was told by Rumpus in the auto level that when I had the tape measure on the side of the pole at 20 feet, that was horizontal, and he would make a note of that in his book, and so he could come back there the next day or the next week and then put the pole up again on that same benchmark, raise it by 20 feet, knowing that that point in space where the target is in the air is horizontal back to the point where the auto level was.
Brian, let me ask you something.
Okay, so now, go ahead, Chucky. Go ahead.
What do you think is more reasonable to do? Put a note in the book or leave the pose there? Because you'll come back and the guy who
Thank you, Chucky.
No, listen carefully, Brian. Ask you, so how much material I need to build this stuff?
These idiots are talking about leaving the string of poles, dude.
No, listen. Because now I'm sending it to you, your method to leave their poles with mark on them and say, fuck if I know. Go to Go to the field and check the marks on the poles.
That's all you do in reality is you fucking
No,
make a mark
you
on
write
your
in
Hold
the
on.
book.
Hold on.
Write it in the book. You
Make a mark on the
here at
stake.
this point.
You finished,
here at
dude.
this
Fuck,
point.
I just started talking, dude. You make a mark on the stake, you record it, you jot it down in your book, and then you know if whatever was higher or lower. Every time you set up the auto level, if you're moving it, you don't need to know fucking how high or low the auto level is in your new position. You'll know by looking at the next marker. And so Chikey's right. Thank you, Chikey.
No, why you need to leave poles with markers there? You leave a peg in the ground, and you know
Them
you,
idiots are
on this
talking about
peg,
leaving targets.
on this peg, above this peg, you need to be 5 feet. Of this peg, you need to be 3 feet. That's what you do. You don't need the mark.
But they're using the ground. For one, they're using the ground and measuring off the ground. That shows you they have no clue. Okay, until I told Ruppus, then he got a little bit of a clue. But go ahead, Blue. I think you're trying to.
Yeah, physically, that's you don't just go put the pole in the ground and walk away from it. No, you don't do that.
Yeah, I said put a benchmark there.
That's not how. That's not.
Hey, Ruppus show up at the job with a stack of story poles.
Metal tabs you can put in the ground, aren't there?
Here's what the rod man's job really is. It's to hold that damn pole vertical. That's why he's got that little bubble level on the side of it. So the pole is absolutely vertical, and the guy
they put them on metal bits, don't they, Blue? They put them on metal tabs.
Yeah, just a moment, and the guy with the theodolite will be saying, "Hey, move it a tenth to the right, move it a tenth to the left, move it a tenth away from it, toward you, tenth toward me," until he gets that rod right where he wants it. And then you take the rod away and you put maybe a 30-penny nail. You know those big-ass damn nails the surveyors use? You've seen them, Brian? Great big-ass damn things.
Yeah. Spikes, basically.
Big spike. And they'll stick that damn spike in the ground and confirm that the spike is on the right spot. And usually tie a little orange piece of plastic tape around it so you can find it. Right? This is how you do it in reality.
But Blue, don't they put post? Once you've got those things in the ground, you can actually put the post on top of that, and then you can say, right, here's the post on top of this benchmark, which I can come back to in a week's time, and if I've made the measurement of this pole that I stuck on top of this benchmark, if I've made a note in my notebook that it's 30 feet above that, I can come back if I want. I can leave a pole there, or I can bring a pole next week and put one there 30 feet high with the target and say that is where horizontal is.
The thing, Ruppus, if you set up at a different height, say you set up at, I'm not trying to help you here, and if you come back and you're set up at, say, a different height, and then you look through your story pole and your benchmark's reading 29 feet, what do you know? What does that tell you?
Right, moron, listen again. You've got someone who set the pole. Try listening. So what I described, the procedure was, and Doofus repeated it, you've got someone they set something in the ground, something sort of like Blue said. I think they're called benchmarks or metal tabs or something. And then you put the pole on top of that. You then raise the target up and down, and then off the side of the pole, the person who did the raising up and down measures when the person at the auto level told them it was at the gratical point by telling them verbally that when they raised or lowered it, and then when it hits the point where the person in the auto level says that's fine, then the person in their notebook then measures from the side of the pole, which has got a measuring device on it, what the height of that target was. Then they can lift up the whole pole and go to the next point and
who measures the height of it, Ruppus? Who measures the height?
The person who's at the pole. I've told you this 10 times. Jesus Christ! I give up. This guy's a fucking moron.
Hear this dumbass Blue. So Ruppus, answer this easy question. So if you come back the next day and you look through and you read 30 foot where you had your auto level set up, you come back the next day and you set up as close as you can, but the next day you read 29 foot. What does that mean?
You've got a note in the notebook that said it was at 29 feet or 30 feet. You put a benchmark in the ground so you know exactly where horizontal is with respect to that benchmark.
And you come back the next day and
made
you read
a note
29 feet.
in the book
what does that mean?
that it read 30 feet. So you know you can put the pole back where it was the previous day, the previous week, the previous year that was horizontal with the auto level 8 miles away or wherever.
Rumpus, if I come back the next day and I set up as close as what I could to the yesterday's position, and I read 29 foot through the auto level, I read 30 foot yesterday. What does that mean?
You're
There's
not
a simple
you're
answer.
looking in the book. The book says it's 30 feet up. So you reset your pole, you put the base of your pole on the benchmark, you then raise it up using the tab measure on the side, the measuring thing, until it reads 30 feet. And you then know it's in exactly the same position it was read the year before, the 10 years
What
before,
if it reads
the 20 years
29 though,
before.
Rumpus? What's that mean if it reads 29, Rumpus?
It's not reading, you're setting it. You've written the notebook, it's 30 feet high. You set the target to be 30 feet high.
But if your crosshairs are pegged
No,
on
there's no
29
crosshairs
feet,
now.
what does
You've got
that
a
mean?
note in the book. You've got a note in the book that says 30 feet. You put the target
you
up
think
to
auto
30
level
feet.
tells you
The
how high
auto
you
level
are, right?
no longer needs to be there. The auto level is not being used at this point. You're just raising it up to match what you've written in the book.
So you think the auto level tells you how high and low shit is? That's your fundamental mistake, bro. You want me to tell you how it works?
No, the
All it
auto
can do-
level is
all-
not
here's-
being described
here's the answer
here.
to that
The auto
question.
level is
The
not
answer-
being described here to tell you how far up or down something is. The auto level is being used to look at something that's telling you how far the up or down it is. The
All
auto level itself is
does-
not. The auto level itself is not described by Rumpus, me, or anyone else here to tell you how far up or down something is. Nobody said that.
Give me a second. Now here's what the auto level does. Okay, the auto level it gives you an instrument that you can set up perfectly level with the bubbles centered, and all it tells you is everything in them crosshairs. Okay, with a 360-degree swivel will be at the same mark. So if you have a tape measure sitting on a benchmark, and a guy holds a tape measure from the bottom of the tape to the 5 foot. Okay, you're looking at the crosshairs. You see 5 foot. It doesn't tell him how high he is. What it tells him is if once he goes to another spot and he sets the tape measure on the ground and it's reading 6 foot, all he knows now is that ground is 1 foot lower. And he goes to another spot and he holds a tape measure and it says 4 feet. If it reads 4 feet, then he knows that ground is 1 foot higher than the.
How does that disagree with anything? Yeah, how does that disagree with anything that anybody said thus far?
You don't leave poles around. You don't have poles that can measure themselves. Okay, and everything y'all are saying, I'm just trying to. You might learn something if you shut up for a second.
No, you'd learn something if you try and listen to what we
Rumpus,
say.
I've been doing this shit my whole fucking life
Guys,
almost, dude. You have no idea, bro.
Guys, can I have just a second, if you don't mind? I'd like to shout out Bjorn Kamitz for 200 SEK. He says, Blue, I've kept away from this water ain't wet fight. saw you was online and had to have a peek. Flashback is a mild explanation to my reaction. It's a relief that people like you, an adult, keep an eye on things. I'm not so sure how adult I am at the moment, buddy, but I really do appreciate the super chat. Thanks so much. And
when I'm trying to,
ding, go ahead.
Brian, we're not.
I was just gonna say, if you want to cut in,
Brian,
if I'm trying to tell them something, and you know what?
No, Brian, you're not telling me anything. You're not telling me anything. You need to listen. We're not trying to measure the absolute height. We're not trying to differential leveling. All we're trying to do is to remember where the pole is. Or remember, the task we're doing here is to determine what's horizontal with the auto level. That's all we're doing.
I have
Nothing
no more
else.
questions. You already showed you don't have a clue, bro. I got no more questions for you.
You clearly don't understand the simple task we're doing. Doofus understands. Chaiki understood it. Blue understood it. You're the only person who didn't understand.
I promise you, Blue understands it, and Chaiki sounds like he does.
We all understood, Brian, that you don't understand. You got confused with differential leveling, and nothing you said about differential leveling we disagree, except for the fact, of course, what you described doesn't work over long distances.
Rumpus, you got confused with a story pole that could read its fucking self.
No, you didn't understand. When I first started describing my procedure, I talked about a large target that was 5 feet in size, and then you asked me about measuring distances to what's recorded. But I've then described in quite a lot of detail about how a person who's at at the pole would record the distance. And it's nothing to do, and if they show a 1 foot difference, that's got nothing to do with anything. We're just trying to line up a series of poles that are horizontal. And then we know from what's in the book of the person at the pole, relative to that point on the ground, we know exactly where horizontal is with respect to the benchmark on the ground. And we can go back to that any time in the future, knowing from the book that we measured it to be 30 feet above that point, and we therefore know what's horizontal with respect to the original auto level position, which obviously we'd also record as well. And you don't understand this simple point because you're a moron.
Okay, well, I do this every day, almost every day of my.
You don't do what horizontal. No, you don't.
Don't
do
interrupt
what
me, dude. Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me, please. Okay, I can tell you 10 different ways to lay out a fucking line. Okay, and here's why I asked you, man, just to see, to get some entertainment for one. For two, I've probably done it fucking 10,000 fucking times,
before,
maybe
Brian.
more.
You've never done what we've described.
I might have done it 20,000 times, bro. I lay out fucking lines.
What we were talking about.
Every day.
You've never generated a horizontal. You've never generated a horizontal over 8 kilometers. You have no clue. You don't. Dude, you just showed that you got story poles that read themselves. Doofus is a fucking idiot talking about he can see the pole. This is a particular pole that the guy holding it can see and measure it with another fucking another measurement. This is not a standard pole we're dealing with, Brian. This is not a standard pole. If y'all were humble men, you'd listen and learn something. This is a telescopic pole that we've made specially for this task.
Right. Just one more thing to keep in mind, that auto level, what it's giving you is a horizontal reference. If you're doing short distance shots, 100 feet at a time, as you were saying earlier, what you're going to end up with is a level line, not a horizontal line.
Right.
Fair. Okay, now, so if I do this.
Wait,
go ahead, Blue. Go ahead.
1 second. John Watson again for £5. And he says, for fuck's sake, Brian, if you would try and comprehend, it would make it a lot easier for the rest of us. And
that's funny.
Thank you, John.
That's hilarious. That's Blue. Do you think I know what I'm doing with an auto level? Do you think I could teach them something? Just be honest.
I really don't even know how to respond to that, Brian. I know you know how to. I am absolutely sure you know how to level things with an auto level. Yes, absolutely. You couldn't do your job.
Would you at least kind of agree with what they're saying was kind of fucking silly? Would you at least give me that?
You couldn't do your job if you didn't know how to operate an auto level. If you didn't understand the principles of differential leveling. That's mostly what you do, right?
Yeah, but even if I did it different, though, Blue, would you agree what they're saying was kind of fucking silly?
No, I really wouldn't. We created a very abnormal, unnatural situation that nobody that I know of ever does, unless you're into a really special project, something like a LIGO tube. That needs to
but I asked him 10 times, though, man. I asked him 10 times, how's he going to mark it? At least you came in to try and help him and said you're going to put tape on different stakes and shit. They're talking about leaving fucking a stack of fucking self-measuring story poles, dude. It's silly, dude.
I would tell you that quickly that having not done anything like that, I don't think any of us ever have. You would really literally have to discover a method that would work for you. I don't know what it would take. But this,
surely you agree my procedure would work. That you need something that can measure something on the pole. You need to be able to raise it, and someone in the auto level would then have to tell you when or not it's aligned with the graticule.
You have that. It's called a calculator, Rumpus.
Well, yeah, and you might want to have targets of varying size, so that at each of the distances, as you get further and further away, the targets get bigger, so that the auto level has a better chance of getting some accuracy on that.
Doofus, you're doing brilliantly. Yeah, well done for working that, because I've had to, I've done that. That's exactly what I've done.
Brilliant. Hey, call a surveyor and ask him to lay you out a horizontal line 1 mile, and if he even does anything at all y'all mentioned, I'll kill myself.
They wouldn't. Do you remember the very first thing I said? This was one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is doing what geodetic surveyors do and account for the curvature of the Earth. But I said no, we won't do it that way. We won't do the calculation side. And this was the very first sentence I gave to you. We'll do it with you just using auto levels and observations, simple observations, not using calculations. Geodetic surveyor would not use this procedure. So someone like Larry, for instance, when he's doing geodetic surveying, or Jessica Slowski, when they're going over very long distances, like when they're, for instance, they determine the height of Everest, you have to use maths and allow for the curvature of the Earth. But you don't do anything over more than a few hundred meters, and therefore you don't have to worry about the curvature of Earth, and you're completely ignorant to this whole geodetic procedure. And I was describing a way of doing it did not involve doing calculations for the curvature of the Earth, because I knew that would get you upset.
It didn't get me upset, dude. It's just fucking humorous, bro. You fucking got me crying.
Everybody else but you, Brian, including in the chat, understands what I said. Doofus understood it. Chikey said it. Blue understands it. You're the only person who doesn't understand what's being described to you by multiple people.
Bro, I understood exactly what you're saying.
No, you didn't. You did not understand.
Let me tell you. Okay, you say that it's a horizontal line of sight, so the target's going to be exactly horizontal the whole distance out. Any fool understands that. My point was just to see if you knew enough about the auto level to see how you would lay out a line with getting marks every 100 feet, and you obviously didn't. I don't care what you say, bro. You got me crying, laughing over here, bro.
Disputing the procedure. You're still disputing the procedure that both Doofus and Chike and I have and Blue has agreed with to you. You still don't understand it. You still don't understand the person.
Let me tell you what I understand.
You need a special sort of pole to measure the height, and that you could go back and then you could position something horizontally. You still don't understand that.
You think the guy with the pole fucking measures shit. You're an idiot.
I told you he would raise it and lower it according to instructions from the person at the auto level.
You think the guy at the pole measures shit, you're a fucking idiot. In no world.
This is not a standard procedure, Brian. This is unusual stuff. This is not standard planar surveying. This is a specific task that you do not understand because you cannot abstract. You can't understand the geometry of the situation, and you have to create a special telescopic measuring thing that's not a standard pole. Yes, I understand that. That doesn't invalidate it.
You think the guy with the story pole is communicating with the guy behind the auto level, bro. If you think that the guy behind the auto level is communicating fucking how to raise it 6 inches or down 12 inches, you're a fucking idiot, bro.
No, we told you.
Don't hold on 1 second. In the hypothetical that was described, the way that it was described, a specific tool was implemented in order to make this hypothetical situation work. The fact that you didn't understand that this was a hypothetical situation with a hypothetical tool that the rumpus specified is the problem that you're having, Brian.
That hypothetical makes you a real world idiot, dude. I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to be... That's me being nice. Trust me, dude. The guy behind the fucking auto level don't communicate with the fucking dude. All he says is up or down, up or down. He's the one who has all the measurements. He's the one who's fucking has the device through his eyes he's looking at. All he tells the guy with the story pole to do in any hypothetical is up or down and when to stop and mark it. You fucking idiots.
Well, that's exactly what the rumpus described, because what the rumpus described in this hypothetical situation was a tool that just had a target on it that the guy with the auto level was looking through, and on the side of that thing that has the target on it, there were numbers on it that the guy holding the pole could read. In order to establish,
hasn't even said market. You said
in order to establish how far up from where the pole was anchored that the horizontal intersection was.
So you think we'd have to invent new story poles to lay out a fucking horizontal? For fuck's sake, dude.
At 8 kilometers, yes.
Man.
At 8 kilometers,
this is
yes,
a situation
you would.
This is a situation that we don't normally have to look at when we're talking about surveying, because if you ask us, you said earlier, we'd ask a surveyor to lay out a horizontal line. If they'd understood what you said and asked you directly, they would say, are you sure about that? Don't you mean a level line? Because that's what you're asking for typically.
You're not getting
when you ask a surveyor to do it. What a surveyor would instead do, if he was going to do that, would give you a level line, unless you specified, no, I really want a horizontal line.
Oh yeah, I really not a horizontal, actual horizontal. Dude, listen to yourself, man.
You could do, as I say, the way that actual surveyors would do this. They wouldn't use this procedure, which was just done for your benefit for a visual way. They would use geodetic principles and then use calculations allowing for the curvature of Earth, as Larry, GPS would do. But we weren't
Okay,
didn't
so
want to get
let's
involved
go
in.
over that
We
then,
didn't
Elvis.
want to get involved in assuming the curvature of the radius of the Earth. We were. I was
Let's
doing
go
it.
over
To
that.
I was describing a procedure that did not involve using the radius of the Earth calculation, but one that was just visual and optical, and you can't cope with it.
No, dude, there's a few answers you could have gave me, bro. The one you gave me was a joke. But let me ask you this, okay? So how would we? And anybody can answer this question who knows what the fuck they're doing. So let's see if you can answer it. Okay, so if we're gonna lay it out, if we're gonna lay out stakes, okay, for somebody to build something straight and horizontal, okay, how would we do it without your fucking hypothetical fucking get a 5-mile bullshit shot? I mean, how would we do it if we're gonna be moving our station around like normal people do? How would we lay it out?
A geodetic surveyor would use the radius of the Earth to do the calculations. They would not use this procedure. We were using this procedure to avoid having to presume the radius of the Earth.
That's not a procedure, bro. What you just described is not a procedure. Let me make that clear.
A geodetic surveyor would use the radius of the Earth to do things at 8 kilometers away. And if they wanted to be horizontal, they wanted something to be horizontal 8 kilometers away, which is extremely unusual, only really required for something like LIGO, then they would use geodetic principles and use calculations involving the radius
You're
of the
not
Earth.
getting nothing accurate over fucking 8 miles or 5 miles, bro. You're not getting nothing accurate over a couple miles, period. You're
So
in La
that's
La
why
Land,
they were
bro.
able to measure the height of Everest using geodetic principles to within 4 feet, even though they made an observation, I think, from 80
Guarantee you they
miles
had to
away.
do it a bunch of times,
From 80
and average it
miles
out.
away, they managed it, Brian, within 4 feet. I think that's pretty goddamn
I guarantee you they did it a bunch of times and averaged it out. You're an idiot.
Yeah, fine. Yes, great. Yeah.
Hey, huge super chat here. Thanks so much, Bjorn Kamitz. Again, SEK 500 of those things. So it's just for you. Use it for something you like. Thanks for hosting these crazies for me to experience for a while. And again, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. But think about what you would do today. Would you bother? I mean, if you're going to lay out something that's 8 kilometers long,
8 kilometers.
What tool would you use? And it's not going to be a damn auto level.
Right. Well, what about laser? I would ask Rumpus. God, you beat me to it, Blue.
What
you
you
beat me to it.
gonna?
I was going to ask Rumpus. Go ahead. Sorry.
What you going to do today? Because we've got stuff that is so damned accurate. We would use dual frequency GPS with RTK, real time kinematic correction. That's
right, because
exactly,
that's using local. That's using local fucking signals
Right.
and shit. So yeah, there's nothing more accurate than that. I agree.
Yeah, that's the most accurate thing you could do. And here's what you would do. If you wanted a true straight line, this is what you would do. You would figure out where you want the elevation of each end of this line, right? You pick it. It can be anywhere you want. And then you take your GPS and you get an XYZ coordinate, not an elevation. You get the raw XYZ coordinate data for each end of that line. And with those two coordinates, you can write a simple equation that's going to tell you where any point is along a straight line that connects those 2 points. That's really exactly what they did at LIGO. And
if you're, it's the same thing as like the curved button on the fucking not the button, but the function on the theodolite or on the total station. Okay, now it's like the Great Wall of China, or the pyramids. What they used is water because water doesn't lie. Now, if we mapped out a flat ground and sea level as curving, then we would have to use them exact measurements, them curving measurements, to lay out a line straight. We'd have to go by them and differentiate what it is. If we tried to lay it out flat on a curved surface without the curved measurements, it'd never be right. So if I mapped for example, if I took a table and I give it curvature mathematically, okay, then if I wanted to lay out a line half the size of that table, and I'm using signals and shit, I would have to judge it by that curve that I applied to it, or I'm not going to get a horizontal line. So I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
it works on both, though. My point.
You would literally have to do exactly what I said. What you need are the coordinates of the endpoints. And with those two coordinates, you can now write an equation that defines a straight line that connects those 2 points. And with
I
that
agree.
equation, you can find any point along that line. All you got to do now is find those points.
It's a breath of fresh air talking to somebody who knows what they're talking about, Blue. I don't see how you listen to all that shit for all that time, dude, to be honest.
Brian, I don't think the Chinese...
There's a problem with using GPS, which is the GPS, the ECEF coordinates, the ECEF, those Cartesian coordinates that he's mentioning for each end of that line, shows you, I mean, anywhere you measure those coordinates anywhere else on Earth, you compare them, you'll find out that the surface
No.
of the Earth isn't
It's
correct.
local signals,
You'll
bro.
find out
It's
that the
local
surface,
signals.
you'll find out that the surface of, it doesn't matter where the signals are coming from, the coordinates
Oh,
that
it
they
does.
give you.
But it does.
It doesn't matter where the signals are coming from, the coordinates that they give you show you that the Earth must be curved.
Well,
Right.
you're boxed in, bro. Your brain's boxed in. You can't think. I just
Right.
told you, if I laid out a table and I gave it curvature, if I give a flat table curvature, and now I got the math on the elevations. Okay, so now my sea level, table level, whatever you want to call it, is now curving. Now, if you want me to lay out a horizontal line on that flat table, I'm going to have to match the curving fucking math to get a flat line on that table. Okay, it works on both, bro. You just can't think outside of your own box.
It doesn't
Right.
work on both because the coordinates in GPS are against, if you're going to use WGS 84, those coordinates that a GPS system typically gives you back, those are on a curved surface. And those are the coordinates that everybody reads back off of GPS typically. Now, the ECEF Cartesian coordinates that was also mentioned here, you can record those for anywhere on Earth. You can keep watching these things as they change. They follow a curved surface, Brian.
Bro, it just shows me the future generations who never use auto levels and lasers and shit are going to be fucking doomed. This guy, we still use these things, and you can't get your head outside the box of thinking it can only be done this way, dude. Dude, it's scary, bro.
Everybody else but you, Bran, understood what was being told to you. You don't understand it. You need to review what you've been told and try and understand.
Yeah, I know, Rumpus. I don't have a clue. I've only been doing it
You
my
don't
whole
have a
life.
clue.
I
No.
don't have a clue.
You don't have a clue.
Don't
The
have a
fact you're
clue.
agreeing with GPS, which is a global positioning system, and as was described, uses ECEF 3D coordinates, which always show that the Earth is curved. And the fact you're disputing this, even though you use GPS and prepared
Did
to
I
check it's
dispute
valid.
it? Did I dispute it, Rumpus? Quit lying, dude. Quit
Well, in which
fucking
case,
lying. I
this
just
global
said.
positioning system.
I
Okay, in
just
which case
agreed
then,
with Blue.
if you don't,
I just
if you,
agreed
okay,
with
if you
Blue.
agree, if you agree with the GPS system, then you must agree with the results of the ECEF. You must agree with what Blue has shown and what Walter Bislin did, which shows that that bridge curves as it should
I
do.
did agree with it. And if, like
Right,
I said,
so when
if I
the bridge
take a
remains
table,
at the same elevation above the water, yet
let me
it's
try
changing its
another way,
coordinates.
Rump.
So in which case, then you have to accept that the Earth is curved and not flat.
So listen, if you want to understand what I meant, or to see whether I truly understand, I should have, maybe I could have worded it like this. If I take and I make curvature corrections to a flat table, a big flat table, let's say 100-foot long, by 100-foot, let's say 100-foot diameter flat table. If I make curvature corrections, and I apply curvature corrections to that flat table, if I go to lay out a horizontal line, okay, using the curve corrections, the survey with the curve corrections, I would have to use the math that matches the fucking curve corrections, right? If that's how I laid it out. So I said, I agree with Blue. I agree with Walter Bislin. But I'm telling you, if the ground was flat and we mapped it with curvature consideration, we would have to then use the same math with the curvature consideration to get a flat line, or it wouldn't work. So I agree with them. It would work either way.
If you agree that the ECEF coordinates returned to you are correct, they show that that bridge, which is a 3D orthogonal coordinate system, and it's not elevation. I don't know whether you understand that the coordinates given by ECF do not include an elevation value. They just show through coordinates in 3D space. They show the water and the bridge, and therefore the water, given the fact the water is a constant distance from the bridge, curve.
They actually show more than that. They actually show more than that. They show. They also show that the south end of that bridge is further away from the center of the Earth than the north end is. It shows the
yes.
It actually shows the oblateness of the Earth. But shout out to John Watson for another £5, who says, so how come a water level would give a different result? Well, a water level won't give a different result from differential leveling using an auto level. You'll get the same result.
It would give you a different result though than what y'all are describing though.
Yeah,
wouldn't
it would. Yeah, it would be a totally different result.
Or you know, it won't match LIGO either, will it?
No, you can see that in the pad that they poured for LIGO.
So how'd they do the pyramids in the Great Wall of China? I thought they used water levels, Blue. I mean, what am I missing?
They did, but the pyramids are not 8 kilometers long either. What are those things? 300 feet on the side, something? I don't know.
Well, they'd be level.
I thought they were like 1,000 feet.
The base of the level of the pyramids are level because they're following water,
Right,
and therefore
right.
there will be a slight millimeter difference from whatever 1 kilometer, however wide they are. There'll be a tiny difference, and that will be accounted, and that they will be level, and they will be following their water level, which is level and not horizontal.
Wait, the curvature and on a globe Earth, ain't it like 2.5 millimeters over 100 meters?
I don't think it's that much.
Well, that's what Ruib said.
No, he didn't.
I don't remember what the number is.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
We could figure it out.
The Great Pyramid at Giza is 756 feet each side.
Yeah, so that'd be easily measurable. And there's no way once they got up a few levels, dude, their shit wouldn't have worked, man.
What do we measurable by what? How? It's level. It's not horizontal. You'd have to use differential GPS to measure that.
You think I couldn't differentiate? Let's see, man, just how highly you think of me. If you asked me to fucking lay out a fucking straight line, 1 mile long, how close you think I could get? Considering I've been doing this shit 30 fucking years.
Yeah, given the fact you don't allow for the curvature of the Earth, you would get it wrong by 8 inches.
So you think I could get it dead on? That's a compliment. If you think the Earth's curved, you think I'd get it dead on?
You would get it wrong horizontal. If you tried to lay out a horizontal line over a mile, you would get it wrong by 8 inches.
Okay, and so every time I laid out a 1 mile line, or let's say a 10-mile line, okay, it would differ. It would differ. My marks in between, like my quarter of the way mark or my 100-foot pegs wouldn't match if I went different distances. Every time I did different shots, if I went different distances, I'd get a different finish. I'd get a different layout every time. In other words, if I did it in 2 shots, I'd have a straight line that went to the midway point and then went straight to the 10-mile point. If I did it in 4 shots, then I'd have four curves. So every time I laid it out, unless I used distance for every shot, I'd get a different result. Does that sound like real world shit to you, bro?
You get it wrong by 8 inches. If you do what you normally do, you would get it wrong by 8 inches. If you're trying to produce a horizontal and you use the techniques that you use, you would get it wrong by 8 inches. And that's even if you use back sights and foresights, or whatever. It doesn't make a difference.
I'll give you
let me give you an
extreme example. Let me give you an extreme example so you can picture this. So picture I'm on a globe and I'm a giant, whatever, and I do my I lay out. I'm trying to lay out a flat line the way you're describing. Apparently it's going to follow the curve of the Earth because I'm changing angles. Okay, off the ground, or let's say 1,000 foot off the ground. Okay, and my first shot, let's say I'm going 12,000 feet or 12,000 miles. Okay, that's my end to end, 12,000 miles, and it's curved. So my first shot I go.
Sorry, if you did it with one shot, if you did it with one shot, you would get the right over a mile. Sorry, if you followed your normal procedure of every 100 feet, you would effectively get without 8 inches. If you did it with one shot, the fewer shots, the fewer stages you used, the closer it would be to horizontal. Until eventually you did what I described and don't move your auto level, then you would. If we ignore refraction for the moment, then it would be correct. But if immediately you start using multiple steps, you're then doing what you seem to understand later that Blue told you. You're converting a curve into lots of little lines, and the smaller and smaller you make those steps, the closer and closer you're going to get to having an 8-inch error. If you did it one observation, you would get it correct.
Hear me out. So I'm going 12,000 miles, okay, over the curved Earth, okay, and I think it's flat, whatever. Okay, my first shot I go a quarter of the way. A quarter of the way there, I go first shot. So you could draw a straight line on your little chart. It's a quarter of the way, okay? And it's a straight line, okay? Because I think I'm going straight, and you think I'm going curved. So you're picturing it on a curved surface. I go a quarter of the way, and you draw a straight line 1/4 of the way. Then I go then I do 10-mile increments for another quarter of the way. So you're going to draw a bunch of little lines, right? And then my third quarter, I'm going to go another quarter of the way. Then I'm going to have a long line again, okay? And then my fourth segment, I'm going to go 1/8 of the way. So I'm going to have 2 segments left, okay? So the fact that here's my whole point. The fact that I use different distances for every shot, I'm going to have elevations underneath all my stakes, elevation marks. They're going to be all over the fucking place. The only way to get it accurate, you say if I'm changing angles the way y'all say I am, then I have to go the same distance if I'm doing a survey and I'm closing out and I'm closing my loop, so I'm going back to where I started. If I don't go the same distance in between shots as I did on the way there, I will get a different result every time for everything in between. Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand you've no idea what you're talking about. You still don't understand the basic principle that if what the diagram that Blue's got on screen at the moment, that there's a gap between level and horizontal, and the more steps you take, that if you take one step as I was describing, then you get the genuine, you keep horizontal. The more steps you take, the more close you are to level and following the curvature of the Earth. And therefore you will, if you're trying to generate horizontal, then you will have this error that we were talking about, 8 inches over a mile. But if you look, the smaller steps you take, the closer you're following to level. You don't understand the difference between horizontal and level even now.
Bro, you keep saying I don't understand. I understand exactly, but
here's the thing. You don't understand.
Hold on, let me finish, Rumpus. Let me finish, dude. Okay, we started off talking about Bev didn't understand, and I'm telling you that he does, but I'm just giving y'all a taste of your own medicine. You see how you can't think outside the box? Just because you think I'm wrong. Just because you think I'm wrong, you should still be able to understand me.
You're a flat earther. You're very, very wrong.
The fact you can't understand me, we understand you, okay?
No, you don't.
You just don't understand us.
Brian, everybody in this panel understood what I was talking about, and the people in the chat. You were the only person who didn't understand.
Bro, any real-world person who's ever done a fucking measurement knows you're a fucking retard.
Like Larry GPS, Jesse Kozlowski, professional geodetic surveyors. Yeah, those people.
If they were here, they would have shut you up and took over, trust me.
They would have agreed with me completely. Jesse and I are complete agreement over this. You don't understand the basics of your trade. You've clearly not got a surveying book.
You think I don't understand?
Do you have a surveying book? Right. Do you have a surveying book?
You don't think? Yes, I got a surveying book.
Do you have a surveying book? Yes or no?
Yes, I went and got one. I went and got one because I'm tired of hearing you ask the fucking question.
Go and look now how they describe what level is. And come back to me.
You think I don't know?
You describe level. And
you don't think I understand geodesics? You don't think I understand geodetics?
No, you don't.
Then fuck off.
If you
fuck off. Why are you even talking to me?
And you looked up the definition of level in the surveying book you claim to have, it would explain to you the difference between level and horizontal, and you would not be making these stupid points you're making at the moment.
Bro, I could fucking I could give curvature corrections to a flat table and make it match flat curved measurements. If you don't understand, you are the one who can't think outside the box. I understand geodetics.
Everyone understands this. Your book disagrees with you, contradicts you. You clearly have not read the section on level and vertical adjustment. And if you did, you wouldn't be making these stupid comments.
Anyway, here's my point. My point is Bev understands that horizontals fucking intersect in your model, but he fucking mimics y'all because y'all act like you don't understand our fucking concept and everything. You just totally act like you have no idea. So how can you fucking know if I'm right or wrong if you don't even understand it, bro?
I do. You think the world's flat, and you know that you're disagreeing with the surveying book that you claim to have, and you don't understand anything that we all said in the last hour and a half. Only you.
You say I'm changing angles. You say I'm changing angles, but you can't prove it. You think you can, but you can't prove that I'm changing angles every time I set up my auto level. The ground fucking moves up and down everywhere, dude.
I gave you a procedure to do that. 2 auto levels looking at one another, as is demonstrated by Jesse Kozlowski, do not point at one another, even allowing for refraction.
Bro, I guarantee you some days it will, and most days it will.
No, it won't.
And some days it won't.
No,
you think up and down because of Earth curve and because of refraction, okay? In my world, it's just because of refraction. Shit moves constantly. There's no Earth curve needed.
Well, in which case, then I'm going to be demonstrating with Rect how the 17 feet worth of drop that will demonstrate to you physically that there is earth curve.
But you can make adjustments, though, right? You can make adjustments, even though it's not matching your earth curve. You can make adjustments, can't you?
Adjustments to what? No, I can't. I can. The only thing
No,
I can
of course
do is
you
allow
can't.
for refraction.
Of course you can't make fucking adjustments.
The only thing I
God
have to make
damn
adjustment for is
it.
refraction. I can use the scientifically accepted and surveyor accepted correction for the existence of refraction. I can do that, and then that
Guess
gives
what,
me
bud? Local surveys don't use that.
No, they don't. Well, that's because you don't understand the importance.
No, they don't understand, Rumpus.
Listen,
So
listen,
every state
listen.
survey
If
don't
you'd read your
understand.
book, if you'd read your book, you would understand that using backsights and foresights eliminates the earth curvature and refraction. But you don't
Dude, I heard
understand that
that
because you
5
don't
years ago,
understand
bro.
the geometry of what you're doing.
Bro, I've explained this so many times that you think I'm changing angles, okay? Every time I set up, you think my level is a different angle. I've explained this 1,000 times. Quit saying I don't understand.
You don't
Okay, now,
understand.
here's the point. You think that every state surveyor who fucking locally lays out fucking, you think they use geodetic surveying for fucking elevation maps, bro?
I don't know.
For
I think a
sure,
state surveyor
for
would
sure.
use
No, they
geodetic
don't.
surveying.
They use,
Yes,
they
yes.
use
Sure, how
local
do you think they got
planar surveys and give
Right.
curvature considerations.
Right. Do you imagine they did the differential leveling to measure the elevation of the Everest?
I told you, differential leveling every time we close a
No,
loop. If we
they
go
think they
different
did it.
distances, if we jump different distances every time we leapfrog,
I'm
we're
asking
going to
you.
get a different result.
I'm asking you. Any mountain in the world, do you think they use differential leveling to measure
No,
the elevation?
no, they don't.
So, yeah,
No, they don't.
That's your answer. That's your answer. Yeah, they'll use geodetic surveying to measure elevation.
Yes, they do. Hard to get places, even valleys. There's different spots they use that for elevations, but that's it. As far as the road you drive on and the fucking sidewalks you walk on and everything in between, the road they use fucking state planar elevation charts, okay? And they give curve corrections and use curvature considerations when they put these things together. Rumpus is saying they don't understand.
Yeah, because you don't understand. However much refraction you will have when you do fore and back sighting, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, if you go different distances, you're changing angles differently. So anything in between them shots, okay? I understand you'll get the same end result, but everything in between my setups will be different elevations. I just use an example, using the extreme, going a quarter of the way around the half circle.
Don't do that. If you use equal backsights and foresights, that's exactly what you don't do.
That's fucking often
you don't
impossible,
care about
right?
what's in between, right? You have 2 points that you want to measure elevation between. That's all. 2 points. The one in the middle you don't
dude,
care
I know
about.
Psyche, I know you're good at math. You understand what I'm saying when I say if I go different distances on a curved surface, then I'm going to have elevations in between. If I draw a straight line,
Right.
I'm going to have different elevations in between my setups, ain't I?
Right. You will have flat surfaces between two equal elevation points, which will not be the same elevation all along if you follow a straight line.
Right, but this is one of the first things I did when I heard about this subject, is I went out and measured it myself. And I talked to George long time ago, and he explained to me that every time I set up, I was changing angles. And I understood right then, okay, you know what? I don't agree with that, but I guess I could make that work. I could make that work if I wanted to lay out a globe. I could make that claim. I don't think, I mean, there's no way to fucking measure if I'm changing angles by that minute. But at the same time, there's no way for me to prove that I'm not. So in all fairness, I had to consider that as a no matter how remote, as a possibility. But y'all act like you got it nailed down, like it can't be any other fucking way. And it's just, it's fucking insulting.
Yeah, that's why we've proved Everest is the height it is using many different techniques, including GPS, and it's verified our principles. And if you read any surveying book, and if you were certified surveyor, you would have to use these principles to do geodetic stuff like Larry GPS does. But you don't know anything about these things.
What you're failing to fucking think about is the fact that if I use geodetic surveying to measure fucking Everest, then it has to match that fucking height I assigned to it, or else I'm a fucking retard. If I give it, if I'm on a flat Earth, but I use geodetic considerations to measure Everest, it's gonna match when I go to measure it close up. It's gonna match geodetic considerations that I fucking gave it to begin with, or else I did it wrong.
No, it would not match. If you made different observations.
What are you talking about?
Listen. If you made lots of different geodetic observations and determined the height of Everest using different distances, and particularly if you use GPS, a completely independent system, and they all agree, and the geodetic principle absolutely requires considering the curvature of the Earth, and it comes.
They
up with
didn't
the
use
same
GPS
answer,
to measure fucking Everest.
Be quiet, and it uses whatever observation I make from whatever distance. They all agree, including another independent system like GPS. They all agree, and the geodetic system required you to understand and take into account the curvature of the Earth. That means that the curvature of the Earth must be there. You cannot dispute this,
bro. Me and you. And a couple other people, we talked about how we're going to prove when we're trying to come up with experiments, bro, on whether it's curved
You're
or
just going to ignore the point
curved.
I made. Then you're going to ignore the
no,
fact.
Listen, man, they're not using GPS to measure Everest, bro. They did not use GPS.
They have
Everest.
done. They have highlight. They have found the height of Everest using GPS techniques. They have validated the measurement that was done using geodetic surveying and other places as well. We have, for instance, we validated the network on the Great Britain.
You validated
and found that the geodetic surveying that's been done of Great Britain matches within a few centimeters across the whole length of the country with the same GPS measurement. The geodetic
How many local towers did they use?
The geodetic principles have been validated.
Okay, so how many local towers do they have around Everest for the GPS for
I've no idea, but they have done several surveys of it, including the original one, and they verified.
Well, they have to have at least 4, right?
They verified that original survey was correct, which used geodetic principles to get the height that they did.
Okay, so them towers have to be a certain distance from each other, right?
Wait. What towers are you talking about, Brian?
I'm talking about in this GPS surveying uses local towers.
No, it doesn't use local towers.
It does, Blue.
It uses 4 satellites, Brian.
You think it uses satellites from space?
Yeah, I know it does.
Oh my God, dude.
I know it does. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, so no local signals in GPS.
The local signals are part of the real-time kinematic correction. Yeah.
The correction? Why would you need to correct? I don't get it.
Why would you need to correct? Because the satellite timing is not complete. Is not corrected on a millisecond by millisecond basis. Those measurements will vary slightly.
You never get accurate measurements that accurate from satellites in your orbit.
Yes, you do, Brian. And the way they do it is by setting up. You can do it locally with your own base station, set up over a known point. And that local base station knows what the coordinates of that known point are, and it knows what it's measuring using the GPS 4 satellites that it's receiving, minimum, and it can see what the offset is. And it can tell.
That's even worse, though, Blue. Think about this.
No, it's even better because then it can. Then it tells the mobile instruments how much correction to put in their coordinates because they're seeing
why would
the
they
same
have to
satellites.
correct, Blue? I don't get it. Why are they correcting the measurements,
Brian? Because the satellite. At any given moment in time, the satellite may be a meter or two one way or the other from what the...
Or maybe even 8 inches a mile, right?
No, Brian, no. It's not. It is not being corrected instantaneously all the time. The way the correction.
So it could be off. Hold on, it could be off a meter in one position, but over the span of a mile, it could be off.
And that's the reason why. That's the reason why your normal handheld GPS is only accurate to within maybe 10 meters.
Yeah.
That's the reason. It doesn't have any correction. It doesn't have any way to do a real-time correction. Actual GPS surveying equipment corrects that by setting up a local base station over a known point because it is hearing the same satellites that your mobile equipment is hearing. and it can.
I
make
know,
a,
Blue.
an
It's using
XYZ
local fucking station, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all.
It can make an XYZ correction based on what that base station is telling it. But there are other methods too. There are now a whole network of permanent type things where you don't have to set up your base station. That's the way Jesse did the bridge. Let
me ask you a question. You might have just taught me something. So you're saying that the local stations that I thought were that's what I mean. What I read up, I thought that's where they were getting. That's why it was so accurate. It's done locally, but you're saying that they're intercepting the signals and correcting them.
So
they're working in tandem.
Yeah, they're providing a correction to the mobile GPS receivers.
They're not intercepting them and then rebroadcasting them.
No,
they're just providing corrections.
Right. They're listening. That tower or that base station is listening to exactly the same satellites that the remote stations are listening to. And all that thing has to do is say, okay, I know this coordinate was XYZ, but what I'm calculating from the satellite is not XYZ. It's X plus 2 and Y plus 3 and Z minus 1. Okay.
So you input. So there's a program, and they have to input the shit and to make whatever corrections need to be made, right?
No, they only have to tell it what its location is. They only have to tell the base station where it is in space. They have to give it its position.
So they communicate mathematically, right? And they use distance, the timing of the signal, and they communicate mathematically, correct?
That's how GPS itself works. Yeah, it does it by calculating distances from 4 satellites. Because
I'm good with all that, man. I'm good with all that, Blue.
The intersection of 4 spheres yields 1 unique point. 3 spheres will give you 2 points. 2 spheres will give you all kinds of damn points, potentially.
Yeah, but see, I'd rather have Rumpus out there with his talking story poles, dude. His fucking string of them.
Okay, you're a moron. I was describing a procedure. You asked how you would do it, and I described a procedure which is actually quite similar to how RECT works, in fact. And because I didn't want to include the normal procedure that geodetics fair, because that involves assuming the radius of the Earth, I was describing how you would do it without having to make mathematical corrections. And you still don't understand. And you still don't understand.
You gotta teach your hypotheticals, man. It's 2022, man. Rumpus, it's 2022, man. You got to get with the times and update your hypotheticals, man. Them story poles should have wheels and remote control, man. We can drive them on out to where, and fucking.
Well, I'll let you pay for that. But I was describing something that is actually practically possible, and I'm doing something very similar to RECT, so I know that it can be done. You didn't.
What you're describing.
You didn't understand the principles being described. Everybody else in the panel did.
Maybe I didn't, but what you were describing, we need to put a tent over it and fucking play music. I can see your dumbass out there fucking telling the guy with the story pole, man, you got 6 fucking more inches, man.
Well, you've just demonstrated what a moron you are. You're barely worth talking to. I mean, you make such hard work of it. I mean, even I, who've got near infinite patience with stupid people, you still didn't understand it, even after the 10th telling, and put me to the end of my patience, even though everybody else who listened understood it exactly.
I'm still not sure you know how the auto level truly works.
You still don't understand what I've been saying, do you?
No, I'm not sure you understand, really. I'm not 100% sold.
Everybody else understood what I said, Brian. You were the only person who didn't.
I'm gonna test you when I got you one-on-one, because I'm not sure you understand yet. You haven't said the key words yet that I needed to hear to indicate that you even know what the fuck you're talking about.
We are not.
I know you understand the basic principles. I know you understand the basic principles from the book, but there's a couple of key points you need to know.
We're not doing a level surveying, planar surveying. You were asking to do something different over a long distance, so you have to use different procedures from the standard ones. And of course, if you read your surveying book, which you claim to have, it would explain to you the difference between level and horizontal. And then
there's still fundamentals, Rumpus. I'm not sure you know them, bro. No matter what
have
method
you read the chapter
there's still
vertical?
There's still fundamentals.
Have you read the chapter on vertical measurement in your surveying book? And has it, the bit where it describes what level is? Have you read that?
Rumpus, bro. I could write one of them books, bro.
Have
I don't
you
think you
read
get it, bro.
the
I've been
book
doing this shit
where
my
it
whole life,
describes
bro. I
what
could
level is?
author,
Could you stop
bro. I could
deflecting?
literally
Could you
author
stop
one of them books.
deflecting? And could you answer the question? Have you read the section which defines what level and horizontal
Bro,
are?
I've read them inside and out, a few of them.
You've
Okay,
read the
listen.
definition of level. So could
Yes,
you read
dude,
out to
listen,
me what
Rumpus,
it says
I
level
can
is then?
Rumpus, you're talking to somebody who could author one of them books, bro.
No, you
I've been
couldn't,
doing
Brian.
this.
You don't understand.
Yes, I
We've
fucking
demonstrated
could.
here
Rumpus,
and now
this is what I
that
do,
everybody
bro.
else understood the principles I've described, and you didn't. You're not even qualified
I'm a fucking
to write a
expert.
single
This is what
word
I
of
do.
such a book.
I'm a professional, Rumpus. This is
No,
what I
you're
do for a
not.
fucking living.
You know nothing
Yes, the
about
fuck I am.
surveying. All you do what a monkey could do what you do, and just doing the plain surveying task you're divided.
Well, I'm
You
not
know
sure
nothing
you know
about
the
geodetics.
fundamentals, bro.
You know
I'm
nothing
not
about
sure you
geodetics
know them
surveying.
yet.
You know nothing about the process. You don't even understand why you have to have equal and foresights and backsights, and why that will eliminate refraction. You said about 10
I'm not
minutes
sure.
ago.
I'm not sure you could even.
You didn't even understand that eliminates refractions. You claim something else. You don't understand the reasons for.
You think you
foresights
could
and
decipher a
backsights.
logbook? Do you think you could decipher a log?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then what? Okay, if I one day the spot's 30 feet through my fucking level, the next day it's fucking 29.5. What's that mean?
Well, obviously you've got different refraction conditions.
What's it fucking mean, genius? That's wrong.
Well, hold on. You said you're making the same measurement.
One day I measure a spot. One day I measure a spot. I read 30 feet.
Yes,
the next day I measure it. It reads 29.5. What's that mean? What does that mean? It can only mean one thing.
Are you saying on 2 different days you've got a different measurement for the same observation?
One day my benchmark reads 30 feet, Rumpus, through my auto level. The next day I come back with my auto level, I set up, it reads 29.5 feet, Rumpus. What does that mean?
Is the refraction conditions are different?
You're a fucking idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
Well, there you are. You just don't understand.
He doesn't understand the fundamentals of fucking surveying.
You don't understand any of the fundamentals. You haven't even read what level is in your book.
I'm not talking to you more about the subject. You don't even understand the fundamentals. It's stupid to even talk to you
level
about
section
it.
in your
You don't
book.
care to listen. You don't care to learn.
Yeah, I can't learn anything from you, and you refuse to learn anything from your surveying book. Just go and read the chapter on vertical
Rubbish.
measurement.
Anybody who's ever looked to a
Go
fucking
and
auto
look at
level
some of the
knows
pictures,
the
and it
answer to
will
that
show
question.
you that level is curved and how to allow for refraction and what geodetic surveying is and how if you use back sights and foresights, you don't have to.
I know that, Rumpus. I know that, bro. I understand. I can lay out the earth if it's all or flat. I can do it either way, Rumpus.
You don't understand any of the theory at all, and you clearly have
Rumpus,
not
I
read
can
the
take
section on
logs.
level.
I can take all the logs from the United States and lay it out as a ball or fucking flat. Okay, now let me tell you something. There's only one answer to that question. It wasn't a fucking riddle. It's a fucking common sense for anybody who knows. If I measure my benchmark one day through my auto level and I read 30 foot, if I come back the next day and set up my auto level and read 29.5, what does that mean? It's not a fucking riddle. Fucking idiot. No, it's
refraction conditions, or you've kicked your auto level around and screwed it up.
Yeah, but what method are you using there, Brian? How do you
look what he just said? Your second answer was close. It means you're set up 6 inches higher than you were yesterday. You fucking idiot. Any surveyor would know that fucking answer. It wasn't a riddle.
I
Now shut the
presume
fuck
that you
up.
weren't such a complete moron. You set it up in a different position, you stupid wanker.
You will never set it up in the same position twice, Rumpus.
You're
Surveyors
supposed to
don't
put
care.
a bloody tab down on the ground where you set
No,
it up.
they
you
don't.
twat.
Rumpus, surveyors do not care how high they set their fucking their auto level up according to how tall they are. The ground could be moving any which way. You can't never get the same fucking position twice. Well, you probably take forever. You look like an idiot out there.
Yes, obviously you could if you stick your auto level in a different place. Yes, so what? You'll read the same difference in marks between the two. I mean, what a stupid question.
Let's see if you learn anything.
You're basically
Another
saying
quiz.
you go and
Let's see if
stick
you
it
learn
somewhere
anything.
else, you get a different
Let's see if
value.
you learn
Well
anything,
done.
Rumpus. Let's see if you can put 2 and 2 together. Let's see if you learn anything. Another question.
What a moron.
Listen, here's another.
Go and
Let me ask
read
you
your
a question,
book
bro.
on
Are you scared of another
vertical
question, Rumpus?
measurement.
Are you scared of another question, bro? Here's another question to see if you learned anything. Okay, now, so I go back out there, and I'm fucking 6 inches fucking I'm 6 inches higher. Okay. What am I going to read? It was 30 foot yesterday. I set up my auto level 6 inches higher the next day. What am I going to read?
Well, you'll be if you look at the same thing, the same pole, it will show 6 inches higher.
What will I read? I read 30 foot yesterday. What will I read then?
30 feet 6 inches.
Idiot! I rest my fucking case, people.
Well, you're a moron.
He
You said
doesn't
you
know.
raised
This
the
guy
auto
does
level
not
up.
know. You're fucking retarded, bro. I'm sorry.
You're a moron. If you've raised the auto level on a higher spot and you've got the pole in the same place on the same object you're looking at, it will obviously show 6 inches more if your auto level is higher. And if you dispute that, you're a complete moron.
It's gonna fucking. It reads opposite of what it is, dude.
No, it doesn't. If you've got the pole on the same place and you've raised the auto level, the value where the gratical is will be 6 inches more. You've just demonstrated you don't even understand the basics.
Rumpus. It would have been 29 and a half.
No,
if
your auto level is 6 inches higher, which is what you said, and the pole is in the same place.
You think I'd read 30 foot?
You will see through the auto level. Your gratical will go through something that's at 6 inches higher. You are a complete moron.
Listen, Rumpus. If I got my auto level and I've read 5 foot off in the distance, okay, and now the guy with the story pole, he moves it. And now I read.
You see, you've moved the guy with the story.
Now, hold on, listen, man. Now I read 5 foot. What happened?
You said the auto level was 6 inches higher. You said the auto level was 6 inches higher.
Exactly. So if the auto level is 6 inches higher, okay, then no. If it's the fucking, hold on, dude.
You will have a 6-inch increase in the value you will see in the graticule. You utter moron. You can't even do your basic
Switch
job.
my words.
Quit
switching my words. Quit switching my words.
You can go back and review what you said, so you can't even do the
basic go back
job
and listen.
that you've just been describing. You are a complete and utter failure.
Brian, what I understood you to say was you go out there one day and you read 30 feet, and you go out the next day and you read 30 feet 6 inches. What does that mean?
What does that? Rumpus thinks that means the mark is higher.
You're reading.
That means that means it's lower, right, Blue?
You're reading 30 feet 6 inches. If the auto level is at the same elevation it was the day before, then yes.
That means
that point.
That means the mark 6 inches lower.
Is lower. Yes, has to. But that's not
what Rumpus.
That's not what Rumpus understood, and I didn't understand it either.
Maybe I said it wrong.
We understood it that the auto level is set up. And it reads the
He said it was 6 inches higher, Blue. He said the auto level was 6 inches higher.
Yeah, I gotta concede. That's what I said, Blue.
Yeah, you're stupid.
Yeah. All right, I fucked that one up. You answered it right. I'll give you that one. But he still got the first one wrong.
It confused me too.
Sorry, Blue.
No, I'm messing around over here in YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm having to deal with. Jesus Christ! I think I've reached the limit of my patience now. I'll shut up and let everybody else talk.
Robert, you didn't even know what it meant. He didn't even know what it meant, bro. For if I come back and read 29 foot 6, then he acts like he's a professional at what we see through the auto level. It's a simple question. If I see 30 foot one day, okay, and I come back the next day, and I see 29, it can only mean one thing, Rumpus, and that means that it's a foot different, okay? You did not know that, so don't act like you did. You're learning, but you're learning through fighting instead of asking questions.
I believe he was trying to explain why there was a foot difference.
Well, he didn't know. I might have asked that second question wrong, and for that, I'll take the fall. I'll be the dunce cap. I'll wear the dunce cap on that one and tell him he answered that one right. But I asked it the wrong way I was intending to. But Blue understood what I was talking about. If we read a higher number through the tape, that means the ground underneath is lower.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Right. That means the elevation is lower. That's the only way you get a higher number.
So if we read 30 foot 6, that means it's lower.
Yeah.
That means that we're higher. So yeah, I asked it wrong there.
I went and listened there, Brian, and you did say I raised my the other like 6 inches. So
yeah, I stand correct on that one. I got my bad.
Oh, Just a quick question to ask on behalf of somebody else, Brian. What does anarching mean?
It's the opposite of arcing, man. Ant-arcing.
There is no opposite of arcing. Anyway, there you go. Question was answered. Are you happy, Mr. Hawkins?
I promise, man. If I join a live stream at Rumpus, then I promise it won't be so much of a workout, man. Me and Rumpus have this effect on each other, man.
I think you'll find that Rumpus has that effect on an awful lot of people, to be honest. But there you go.
Well, he's gone on mute and deafened now, so
yeah.
We're back to the calm part of the show, and actually we're 3 hours and 13 minutes into it, and I'm getting a little hungry.
I'm getting a little tired.
and you guys are probably getting a little tired. Brian, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Shikey, Eric, we hadn't heard anything out of you. You want to say anything? No, Eric's not talking. Oh, Lim, how about you? Anything? Because we're getting ready to wrap this up, folks. It has been a lively day, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
My ears.
It has, man. We never even got to the subject. We had a topic to discuss one day, but it's like as long as we have a conversation, there's really no point in cabling it. But we still have that one to look forward to, man. But I prefer to do that on a day that Rumpus ain't here, if you don't mind.
We'll get around to it one of these days. Hey, I really appreciate everybody showing up. Still got 61 people watching. That's phenomenal for a Friday night. Thanks, guys. And with that, unless anybody else has something to say, I'm calling it a night.
Yep. Peace out, and thanks for your patience, Blue Man. I appreciate it. Y'all have a nice weekend.
Okay. And we'll see you guys later.